It's just other side, yeah. It was. I mean, if you're recording now, you can get this into the podcast. But yeah, it started off as other side, and then we kind of added on the other side cannabinoid dispensary when the CBD thing took off quite heavily. And now, I mean, people just know us as other side, isn't it? I'm not really sure. It's
other side London.
Other side London is the handle on Insta and the website, but just other side is the name of the business. To go into it a tiny bit, just to explain, it's a dual business shop that we operate out of. One side of the business is run by my family, and it's a tattoo shop, and I used to work for them. And then the other side of the shop became free, and when that became free, I jumped on it. Hence, calling it the other side. So it's just the other side of the shop. In literal terms,
literally,
it's very, very literal. I spent like years like guiding like tourists to go and pay for their postcards, because the guy that used to be there before me was used to sell like tourist stuff. So I'd be like, oh, sorry, you have to pay on the other side. You have to pay on the other side. You have to pay on the other side. And then it just stuck. I was like, oh, I'm going to call my business Other Side, and it kind of works on a kind of cannabis level as well.
And before you, it was a head shop as well, so it's like kind of carrying on that little legacy.
It used to be an old head shop, stroke kind of tourist space.
Was it Lee Harris's shop?
It was Lee Harris's space, yeah. It was,
I was going to ask, because you're on Portobello. Yeah, I was curious as to whether there was kind of crossover there.
I basically grew up with Lee Harris. Like, he used to work opposite me and my family, and we were in the same space for like 30 odd years together. And then he retired, and then that's when I took over. That was about, it's going to be 8 years in this December, yeah, 8 years ago.
Wow, awesome. I think that works well. This is kind of a new formula that I'm going to test out, because I'm going to put this in raw and do my intro now. So yeah, I'm going to test a new format of the podcast, folks. Little teasers. Then we're going to do the intro. So there you go. You already kind of know who today's guests are, but I'll get around to introducing them in a moment. I'm going to waffle some shit, so let's do the usual thing. Yo, how are you doing, folks? Welcome to episode 127 of the Simpa Life Podcast, under a new format, apparently. I'm very excited to see how this goes, just because I'm lazy and I can't be asked figuring out how to edit that wonderful tidbit of anecdote into what is going to become the next 2 hours or so of our conversation. I'm not going to waffle too much shit. I know I say the word waffle as well too much. I'm going to produce a Simpa Life bingo card at some point for all the cliched things I say during a podcast, so you can print it off and play the game at home. So I'll tell you what, somebody might get bingo. I'm going to complain about the fucking weather. We're under a second storm in the northeast. It's bloody miserable.
Miserable here as well. It's been raining non-stop for the last couple of days. Horrible.
Yeah, this little island of ours is getting very wet. I often quip that being in Durham, we're built on 7 hills, much like Rome, and we're bulletproof to flooding. But actually, when I look out of my windows and I see the water accumulating on various parts, it is quite terrifying to think, the state of the weather right now in this fucking country. But there you go. Let's just jump straight in with today's fucking guests, folks, who are the retail sales manager and founder and owner of Otherside Dispensary, London's first CBD dispensary. They are Leon Bird. They will be on your left or right. I don't know how you see this. And Geshe Ewing on the right, left, whichever way around it is. There you go. If you're not watching this, you'll get to understand it shortly. But yeah, as we were talking about, the shop is located on Portobello Road. I think it's wonderful that there is that continuation of the heritage of Lee Harris and of alchemy and of everything that he tried to do. So yeah, I'm very excited to have this conversation with you guys. So first question. Speak. Sorry.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, we do our own little podcast as well, and so we know how difficult it is doing this, and got a lot of respect for yours. Basically, You've been doing this for a minute.
Yeah, you've been on it for a while. So yeah, good on you.
I appreciate it. Thanks, guys. Thank you. It's just an ever free flowing thing, really. I'm just probably like yourselves, just trying to capture moments of this journey that we're all on collectively, because if you are cannabis, you can't then pigeonhole you into anything else. The people that I have met, the diversity of age, of gender expression, of fucking race, of belief is insane. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. I've sat and got high with flat earthers and spent hours talking about shit I don't believe in. Do you know what I mean? I've met people that are neuroscientists and lawyers, and I'm not going to dub you in, my lecturer friend. But yeah, there's a lot of professional people at all sides, and then you've got everybody in between, and it's a wonderful place to operate within, and to bring and produce content like this so people can participate and not feel so alone or chastised by the demonization they face from the systems around them, you know?
Well, we all got that same common denominator, don't we?
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter where you're from, it's powerful enough, man. It's like, I don't know. I feel like it's one of those things where when you like really get it or you know about it, it's so hard to like. It's like blinkers on. Like, it's so hard to see things another way now.
Yeah,
it's
100%.
like,
100%.
yeah, it's an amazing plant. And like, I remember first loving it when I was younger, compared to how I understand it now and love it for so many other reasons. Like, you kind of like, I don't know.
Just the situations it brings you into. For example, this situation now, having a lovely chat about it with like-minded individuals, just dealing with people on a shop level, on a business level. I said it in one of my bits of content a few weeks ago. The thing with running, like dealing with cannabis and the industry, and 95% of the time you're dealing with lovely people that have got like a bit more kind of, I don't know how to describe it, but a bit more like open-minded and easy to talk to, easy to deal with. Yeah. Compared to like dealing with your normal kind of business people, I guess you could say. But yeah, no, it's a lovely little journey, and I'm very, very grateful and happy to be on it for sure.
Awesome. I suppose let's jump in with my cliched question I ask most people operating in the cannabis space. Sort of when and how did you both individually sort of get into or involved with cannabis?
Well, just off what I was saying at the beginning of the podcast, kind of like I've been running the shop and working in the same space that Lee Harris was running his head shop. And when he retired, I jumped into that space because obviously he was going to give up this place and I didn't want anyone else like being there. And I thought I could carry it on myself. Was already a smoker. I was already into kind of cannabis and stuff. From a very young age, cannabis has been around me. My dad has always had like back issues, so he always used it as a kind of therapeutic, medicinal level, as well as just wanting to be stoned as well. Both mum and dad were both users, so I kind of seen it as I've grown up, but I was already into it, so it was like kind of like a no-brainer. I already had like all the papers, all the tips you could find, all the different little gadgets and contraptions, and I was already vaping with the packs and stuff like that. So I just saw the space. I thought, right, I can modernize this. And Lee done an amazing job at running that shop already, but he kind of got a bit kind of old school with it. And I thought, let me just modernize this and update everything. And that was the kind of journey into the business side of it. Like I say, I was already using cannabis before that as a kind of it kind of went really well with my music. I was DJing a lot and making music, and it kind of like perfect like kind of combination. And then in terms of Leon, met him quite a few years later down the line, and he started working with us. But I think maybe you're going to tell that.
Yeah, side. So I mean, I kind of like similar to. Well, actually, it wasn't so much in my family. Like neither of my parents use cannabis at all, and like I mean, my dad's not the biggest fan, but like my parents aren't against it. They're not like, do you know what I mean? They like would never hate me for using cannabis at all. But yeah, it was like something I kind of had to discover by myself. And like at the time when I was like 16-ish, I was like kind of quite big into my sports and stuff. So I was like quite set on being healthy. I wasn't that into drinking, or I was like completely no to cigarettes and stuff. But I was always quite, I don't know why, weirdly open-minded to cannabis. And I remember trying it, and it just like, I don't know, I used to not sleep very well at the time. I used to like get quite stressed, and like I realized now that it was probably, I was quite ADHD and I just didn't know how to deal with it properly. And like, it's something I kind of realized a bit later down the line, but it kind of just clicked for me straight away. And it really worked for me. And I had such a great time with it for years. And I kind of like got so into it. I was like, I need to work in the industry somehow. And I went traveling, and when I came back from traveling, I was like, right, I'm definitely getting into cannabis somehow. I'm going to figure it out. Maybe I'll go to America. Maybe I was trying to work it out. And then literally a week later, they legalized, the CBD announcement came out that all of a sudden everywhere in Europe, you could have CBD. And I was like, this is sick. This is literally perfect. I'm going to do something in CBD. And then a very good friend of mine, Jack, basically was a mutual friend through someone else, was kind of on a similar tip and had already started things, but he needed someone to kind of come help him. And my mate was like, yo, let me introduce you guys. Like, this is the perfect link up. We started a little company together. There was like just me, him, and another guy, and we were basically doing the CBD flowers. We had an import license for hemp. Like, we did everything properly, and we were like allowed to import a certain amount of hemp every month, and everything was going really well. And ended up, I think Geshe even reached out to us because at the time he wanted a flower supplier for the shop.
At that point we had been selling CBD flowers in the shop for maybe about a year, I guess, and we were literally jars of it on the counter, weighing it up in front of customers, like really kind of very, very open, trying to like normalize Amsterdam it.
Style.
Yeah, Amsterdam style, very like just trying to normalize it, not trying to be like under the counter or come meet me around the back and I'll sell it to you there. It was very kind of like, this is what we're doing, and we're very open about it. And at that point, the kind of CBD flower that was around was like quite shitty, really. Yeah. It was quite like straggly and like lots of stalks and lots of leaves and not many buds or flowers. And I'd seen this company floating around on Insta called Myob, which is the company that Leon was talking about. And I'd seen some of the pictures they posted. I was like, wow, that looks like a really nice bud. So I reached out to you guys and kind of asked if you guys could supply me.
And then like I kind of met Geshe a few times through doing that, because I used to do a lot because we were small, and if someone was local to us, we used to make sure we hand delivered it because we wanted to have that kind of like customer rapport sort of thing.
Yeah.
And Geshe was just like a really good customer, was always like super on point with paying us, and like we just had quite a good relationship straight away. And then lockdown happened.
I think that went on for about a year, right?
Yeah, it was about a year. And then lockdown happened, and it was just became difficult because all of a sudden you weren't allowed to import anything, especially organic matter. So even if we had the license, we weren't allowed to get any stock. And obviously we're in a fucking island, so there's only one company that we know is at the time was allowed to grow cannabis or hemp at all. So we were a bit stuffed, really. And then you had a little issue, or one of your managers left or something, and Geshe needed someone who knew about CBD to step into the space. And he just kind of, I think, shot a message out to a few people and was like, do you know anyone in the scene who'd be interested in like filling a space for a little bit while I work out my manager situation and blah, 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 blah. And I was like, oh yeah, I'll ask about, thinking that we were going to sort our stuff. And then like 2 months into lockdown, we realized like, right, we're not getting any grants from the government.
Things ain't changing for a while.
We're not getting our import. We're not going to be able to import anything. Like, it was getting a bit sticky, and I was a bit worried about what I was going to do for work, because I'd like quit my other job, and like I was full commission based as well, and we were a small business. We didn't have money to back it, so it was a bit shaky. And then I was like, oh, Geshe actually said about needing someone in the shop, so I was like, maybe I'll just fill that spot for like 2-3 months while he finds a manager, because I know about CBD.
Bear in mind, at that point, it was like lockdown was beginning. This is what, 2020 now, yeah?
2020.
So it's 3 years ago. Lockdown was beginning and nobody knew what was going on. I luckily had managed to apply for a food license a couple of months before, because we sell like packeted food. And when I say packeted food, I mean CBD gummies, and I mean CBD sweets, and we had chocolate bars at that time with brownies. We had CBD coffee. So that came under the banner of packeted food, which meant I was a food business, which meant we didn't ever shut our dours. We were open throughout the whole of COVID, which was amazing for us.
We're a takeaway food centre.
We were literally a takeaway food centre, like, where everyone was lit. It was funny, we had like a queue outside our door, the only place open on the whole of Portobello, a big long queue of people just buying their papers, buying their CBD, buying their whatever they need to buy.
Out through the window.
It was so funny.
It was great.
At that point, we managed to just like, yeah.
But yeah, I basically ended up joining the team for like just to help out in the shop and to deal with customers, and because there was a lot going on and the website was super busy at that point. So we kind of Geshe already had someone in with himself and someone else dealing with all the orders and trying to stay on top of ordering stock for the shop and all of this stuff. So they needed someone who could actually just serve as well. And I'd never done retail, but I thought, I'm quite good with people, let's give it a go. And yeah, we just ended up working together, and then kind of like 3 months passed and neither of us really even noticed. And like maybe 6.
It went so fast, and it was like, it's actually working quite well.
And then like 6-7 months down the line, we were like, you know what, this is cool. This relationship kind of works. And yeah, we just kind of like stuck at it.
Carried on, and then we've just been like from leaps and bounds and doing things for quite a few years together now. It's been a good little journey. And
I think I've been at the shop for this Christmas is like 3.5 years now.
Yeah.
So it's like, it's been a good little stint, definitely.
Good little run.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah,
nice. I suppose that we've covered quite a few of my other questions.
What were your questions?
In terms of like what motivated you to open the dispensary, we've kind of covered that. We didn't put this on record, so actually I'll ask you about this one because I asked when we were setting up there whether it's the other side or other side. The reason is there's the other sides in the US.
There is another there in the US, and there's one in Amsterdam as well. There's
Nice.
a coffee shop the other side, but we're just other side. And to explain it again, it's just because it's a dual business shop or space that we operate from, and one side of the shop is my family's business, which is tattoo thing, and the other side of the shop is other side. So in literal terms, it was literally the other side of the shop. So I just called it other side. Yeah. And initially it started off as people going the other side, and I remember at that point I'm thinking, I remember what Facebook did to their thing. They were called the Facebook, and they dropped the. And I was like, I'm gonna drop the just so it's a bit more open ended. It's not this or it's not that. It's just other side. And it just stuck, and everyone kind of seemed to like flow with it.
It's always funny as well hearing people guess why the name came about, because it's like people be like, oh, is it like the grass is greener on the other side, or like stuff like we get. I've had some really creative ones. I can't even think of any right now, but it's funny.
That was my question, was going to be because of we know the origin, is entomology of the origins of the name that you've given your business. I was just curious as to how simultaneously there are these pockets in different spaces, because there's one in Washington, one in New Jersey, like you said, one in Amsterdam, but they all seem to be the other side. And I was just curious about, obviously we could just postulate, wouldn't really know, but just why they would be called the other side. But I think you answered that, Leon, in that the grass is always greener on the other side.
I think it's more like the alternative version of something as well. Like people,
it's the other side of cannabis. Like everyone knows THC, but CBD.
Like what you said a minute ago as well, Simpa, about the motivation. And obviously, we're a business, so we want to make some money, of course. But another massive motivation for us was like being able to change people's perception on what cannabis was. And at the time when we started, it was much more of a head shop, selling all the kind of paraphernalia that you come to expect in a head shop. And then CBD was a bit of a sideline, and it became so big so fast. But the amount of questions that people would come in and say, "Are you selling weed? Oh, does it get you high? Oh, does it do this? Does it do that?" Just the kind of cliche like questions. So it became a little bit of a mission for the shop to kind of change people's perception on it, and for people to come in and not look at us just like a bunch of stoners that are just trying to sell something and make quick money. So that was almost a bit of that. It was like, I don't want people thinking that we're just here to like just do a real shit job and just like sell something and then run into the sun, running down into the sunset. So it was like, I want people walking into the shop knowing what they want firstly, and leaving with an informed choice, and leaving with a product that's going to work for them. Because also CBD could easily garner a bad rep, because a vape might not work for you, but an edible might work for you. And people that are working in shops selling CBD, not all of them are users or are into it as much as we are. I mean, I don't want to say how much we're into it. There's probably people out there way more into it than us, but it's just more of a kind of like, I want people to leave the shop feeling comfortable and knowing that the product that is gonna work for them, and that creates like people come back after that. I mean,
and also like we're really passionate about, because we know what cannabis can do for people, like through our own personal experiences, through friends, through just seeing this CBD journey, like what you've been doing it for like 8 years. I've been doing it for about 6, maybe like 6 or 7 years now. So like seeing what CBD can do over that time, it's not like it's a hoax or a lie, but it's 100%. About having a high quality product. And unfortunately in England, often high quality means expensive, especially when it comes to cannabis. Yeah. But also because it's such a, like, half our job is informing people, because it's such a complicated thing, like knowing the difference between a product with an isolate or a broad spectrum or a full spectrum. All three of them will give you completely different outcomes. Well, broader's full more close, but you know what I mean? Like you could say 1,000 milligrams on a bottle, and it could be 1,000 milligrams of hemp seed oil, or it could be 1,000 milligrams of CBD isolate.
Like the amount of people that walk in going, "Oh, my friend bought a vape and it's got 5,000 milligrams in it. Oh, how come your vapes have only got 450 milligrams?" And I'd be like, well, that's part of the information center. That we became like an information center to explain all this kind of stuff. Like, yeah, that thing might have a lot of milligrams in it, but it's not necessarily going to do what this product will do with less in it.
Mm-hmm. So it's just terpenes and everything,
terpenes, flavonoids, all the rest of it.
Like I said, there's a lack of standardization of packaging and of nomenclature in the industry, and there's a lot of fuckery and a lot of what we used to call the CBD cowboys. Obviously, less so these days because they've moved on to other avenues of exploitable income. You know, a lot of these guys jumped on the PPE at the start of COVID. They didn't bother doing what you guys did and actually go, no, we give a fuck about this product. We give a fuck about the industry that we want to participate in, and we want to help build a future that we want to operate in. Yeah. And it cleared the ground a bit, but it's interesting. You say, obviously, yeah, majority of the role there is kind of educating the public, but obviously you've got your hands tied behind your back with the FSA, with MHRA, in terms of regulations, because you can't make, obviously, medicinal claims. So how do you guys find conveying that to consumers when you're aware that, you know, there could be a trading standards person or somebody there trying to find a way to fuck you over, you know?
It's a fine art, mate. It honestly is.
No, I think there's a point with CBD which it was a bit like, I remember feeling a bit nervous talking to people in the shop because I didn't want to make a claim. I didn't want to say something that you're not allowed to say. And I've kind of gone full circle with it, where I'll be a bit more open and I'll be like, guys, we can't make any claims. So if you leave today and it doesn't work for you, I'm really, really sorry. We're going to tell you as much information as we can about it, and then you can make an informed decision off the back of that. But I'm not kind of like hiding behind the fact that I can't say it's going to make you sleep better. I'll say this product may make you sleep better, but it's all to do with how you take it, the regularity that you take it, what you're doing around the plant as well. If you're like super stressed, then you might need to take a bit more. I don't know. We're kind of very open about it in a way, and we also explain that we're not doctors, so don't take what we're saying for gospel. If you have any issues, you need to speak to your doctor as well about it. If you have any kind of like things that you're not sure about, we're not scared to kind of say that as well.
That's kind of the general direction. We kind of attack everything from like almost layman's term scientific point of view. So like if someone comes in and goes, yeah, but what does it do? Or what does CBD do? I'm not going to be like, well, it will chill you out or it's going to make you sleep or something like, because I can't say that. I'm not allowed to say that. But what I can say is, well, CBD is an anti-inflammatory. And then immediately, a lot of people know what you're on about straight away because they know what an anti-inflammatory is. And like maybe they take pharmaceutical versions and stuff like that.
But even in that, there's a technical issue there because they would claim that is then having, it's a medical property. So, I mean, the statement they would argue to say, I think we spoke of this sort of in the preamble, is the thing of like, in studies, it has been found to be. Yeah. It's about those definitive sentences. And that's the problem, is the naive customer wants reassurance. They want to go to you like you'd go to your priest in the 1800s. That motherfucker knows for certain. You know what I mean? And you go, and even if you don't, you go in and you just feel better. And you're like, oh, yeah, Jesus absolved me. It's all fine. They want that kind of interaction. That's kind of what I was getting at, is it's so difficult that you're kind of, you can't actually really tell them the truth as it is. You have to kind of give enough language of ambiguity that, I said, it is a fine art, like you're discussing.
It's difficult, and like not everyone catches on as well. Like not everyone does get it. We have some people that do walk out confused, and like that is the one thing that like we try and minimize as much as possible. And to be honest, I think these days we're pretty good at getting through to everyone on some level. But like another really good one is like, what is it for? Can I use it for this? And you can't say yes, it's for this, but you could say, well, I'm not really allowed to like make any medical claims, and you can literally say that, and then you go, but a lot of customers do come in and they have been telling me that this was good for X, Y, and Z.
This helped them with that, or I mean, you can kind of like suggest, and you can kind of give experience, and I can say, well, in my experience, it's helped me with this. So that's what's my experience of it. If you want to take my word,
or even if you don't say it helped, you could just say, last week I was playing rugby and I really hurt my shoulder and I was just rubbing our CBD balm on it. That's not saying that the balm did anything or that it's going to do anything.
But I use this oil when I'm feeling anxious. I'm not saying that the oil is taking away my anxiety, but I am saying that I'm using it when I'm anxious. And what, like, to go back on what you're saying, the people are kind of buying us as well, in a sense. Like when I go and buy something from the shop, I want to speak to somebody that knows what they're talking about, and I'm buying into the person. I'm not necessarily always buying the product. And if the person can sell it to me and speak to me about it in like
a way that feels genuine,
exactly, a way that feels genuine, and a way that's going to make me feel comfortable, and I know that this person is into that product or into that. I mean, my example is I always used to go and buy music equipment, producing and DJing and stuff, DJing. I would go and buy a piece of equipment. I'd ask questions about the piece of equipment. And if the person didn't tell me, I'd be like, this guy doesn't know what he's talking about. I don't really want to buy it here. I mean, the other extreme of it is you go to Schmollen and Schmarret. We don't want to say the real name. You go there and you buy CBD from that place. They're not going to know what the fuck they're selling you. So they won't answer a question at all. So you literally have to walk in there blind, or you have to be doing your own research, and then you know what you're buying, and you go in and you buy it, and that's it. So,
but even still, like we were saying with the packaging, it doesn't mean what it is what it says it is. It's such a...
That's the problem, yeah.
And they come into our shop and they're like, well, why does this thing cost, this 1,000 milligram oil cost £25 in Holland and Barrett? But you're
10% active ingredient and yours is like 45 or whatever. It's just trying, and again, you can explain those things to them. But like you said, there's almost an expectation of it. When you go, you've got the money to go buy a car. You want to be sold that car. Do you know what I mean? So there's almost a performance, an expectation of the way that situation is supposed to play out. And because of this handicapping, and like you say, it's the wink, wink, nudge, nudge. It's the going to your doctor and your doctor going, oh, how many units of alcohol did you drink this week? Oh, doctor, I only drank 6. I was very good. And your doctor's going, oh, yes, yeah, me too. I only had 6 last week. It's the same sort of thing. And it works for one thing, but a lot of people that are gravitating towards, say, CBD is its anxiolytic effect. And the people that are suffering anxiety most are undiagnosed or unaware neurodivergent individuals. And they typically need a very straightforward, here's a question, here's an answer, question, answer, to go find the person, speak to them about it. And that obfuscation of responsibility because of the regulations, not because of you guys not wanting to help them or they're not wanting to be helped. It's the frustration of it. It's just it doesn't seem to represent. I mean, the mission you guys are on about, I think, is wonderful. But I struggle to see how you guys can actually achieve it when they've not just got both hands behind your back, they're now threatening to take your legs.
And when the bloody goalposts are moving.
Yeah, do you know what? One of the biggest problems is that a lot of people who could really benefit from CBD, as you're saying, are often anxious.
Yeah.
And like asking someone to come into the shop to speak to someone they've never met about, and who's not wearing a white coat or in a doctor's or in a professional setting, and there's music going on, there's tattoos going on, to walk into the shop and expect them to be out with me with my blue mullet. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, I can imagine it's quite intimidating to then go, you know what? I'm actually feeling really anxious. Like, it's probably like, that feels like the biggest mountain to climb. And that's like one of the reasons we wanted to have an online presence, so people could watch from a distance and like look at our stuff and like see our character and like kind of see that we actually care, and other people are commenting and saying things that kind of like, oh, I'm actually like this person, or like these people are like-minded, and
just to show that we're also just normal humans. We're just running a business. We're not just like some scary kind of people.
Yeah, that are intimidating. We're not funded by some next thing. Like, we're doing this all off our own back.
Literally super independent. But
and like that is like where it really upsets me about the position we are in online, because like we've got a decent following, but we've got no like, our analytics are awful. We don't get pushed out at all. And like, we're really like, there's so many people that benefit from us every week, every month. Like, we've got enough sales to keep a shop open. But we like to push this further and to push this message out and these products out further. We need to like be able to market them in the same way that everyone else is able to market their products. But like, we can't do that, and we're just not allowed. And that's the thing. That's
again, it's down to who you know, how much money you've got. I mean, you can see there's certain companies out there right now, and we are friends with some of them actually, that are putting millions and millions into advertising and marketing. and they've got like billboards around London. They got advertising on the train or on the side of a bus. And you're like, hang on a second, how are they allowed to do that? But we're not allowed to post about CBD on the Instagram on such a small level. But I don't know. I mean, the industry, the whole kind of there's slight corruptions here and there with all sorts of things. I mean, and I don't know how we're going to get around it, because it's just like we say, every year there's a new directive, recommendation, even changing of something, some rule.
It's like independent views as well, like independent agendas as well. That's the problem, because Meta, as much as they're probably in cahoots with the government, they also probably have a lot of their own agenda going on as well, because they've got
their own ideologies and who and who their vested interests are.
And then stuff like Amazon, for example, like you see CBD products on there, they do CBD, but not just anyone could get their CBD product on there. And that's the difference. It's like, I don't know, like all these big businesses reward each other, but they never allow space for anyone else to come in.
Of course, they'll lose market. They'll lose revenue doing that.
So it's not just like a political thing necessarily. It's also
the other thing I find, which is quite odd, talking about the FSA or the recent news from the FSA. And for those that don't know out there, they've changed the recommendation on the dosage down to 10 milligrams per day, whereas we were kind of like operating on we would say between 10 and 30 to 40 milligrams per dose, depending the person, depending what they needed it for, et cetera, lots of variables surrounding it. But the way they've just changed that, it almost makes me feel like they know that they haven't really managed to get the regulation with novel foods, which they tried to do a few years ago, which all of a sudden CBD became a novel food, and you have to just get all your products tested. You have to get approved onto a certain list, blah, 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 blah. I think they put that kind of those measures in way too late, and there was too many people selling it by then, so it was very, very hard to police. And it was like every shop had a bit of CBD something, the CBD drink or CBD anything, whatever. So they kind of failed on that level to get that kind of regulation, because still everyone's selling CBD. And to this day, I've not heard one thing about anyone coming into my shop to say, oh, you can't sell that because of novel foods. There's not been one bit of documentation or any correspondence at all.
They haven't even approved people.
No one's been approved yet on this special list. I know companies have spent thousands of thousands getting their products tested to get onto this list, and nothing's happened still. And this is 2 years later.
Yeah, with there's massive problems with that. With several of the companies that have been pre-approved. I mean, Kevin Jones, former guest on the podcast, friend of the podcast, often call him our unofficial in-house CBD expert. He's done a lot of work compiling kind of the relationships and kind of what has happened there. And yeah, it was, as we spoke of in the preamble, if you are, let's just call it the establishment for now. Let's just give it a big catch-all fucking term of the establishment. Why would you want to waste your money proving the necessity of your product, proving the validity, the efficacy of it, when you could just let a little bit out into the public, let them go crazy for it? And all the cash cow people that moved over from nicotine vapes and became CBD specialists and then jumped straight out of that into PPE, like I said, they did a lot of the groundswell. And they've come in late, but deliberately, because then it's all there. It's plug and play. The big investor boys come in and go, actually, we'd like to start a company now. And the FSA go, no, our rules said you had to be on the shelf in 2022 or 2020, whatever it was. And they go, oh, yeah, but money? Oh, well, okay. And that's, they've bought it. And it's like I said, money talks. And it's that thing of it's a big club and you're not fucking in it. It's classist when you really distill it down. It's about control and power. And so you guys can be subsidiaries, and you guys can like get a license and we're a franchise and yay and do whatever, but you can't lead the charge. You can't possibly be at the same level as these individuals. You know what I mean? And that's they've got to portray that. And so the novel foods was one thing, and now you say with these recommendations, it's like I was saying, the tiny hands behind your back, you're becoming the knight in fucking Monty Python, you know, but it is but to scratch. And so you guys are still trying to fucking fight on, but it's like, how can you in the face of this fucking
We've already had people in the shop asking us, but we've now heard that CBD is dangerous to take if you take lots of it. And we're like, for fuck's sake. Now we've got to re-inform people that it's not scary. It's not a dangerous product.
And it's off the basis of isolate on rats.
And it's off the base, it's not even tested on humans. This was the results that the FSA put out is an isolate on a rat. So sorry, but it's a bit different to taking a full...
10 milligrams of something and a rat. You know, I mean, a rat, even the lab white rats, they're a pretty standardized sort of size. But the scalability of it, I mean, we've already had this proven in courts in the UK where the CPS have removed cases of attempted convictions about metabolization of cannabinoids. The system accepts at that level that there's all kinds of variability. So if you can't be prosecuted for, it was about a driving case and somebody had, God, what was it? I think 7.0 when the limit is 0.2 per litre. And they said, and he had a prescription, and they were saying that couldn't possibly accumulate to that. And the lad just basically went in, litigate in person, took a load of documents, and went, science says otherwise. And the judge went, CPS, and the CPS went, we withdraw our case. Like, as we spoke before, like the World Health Organization studies, they suggest over 2,000, I think it's 2,400 milligrams as a daily dosage of tolerance before you would even consider liver toxicity. And that's the only point you would have a problem really with CBD is in the liver.
I mean, when I got into this, it was like people would say, you want to be taking 500 milligrams upwards per dose to make CBD even effective. And then there was the kind of like, it went down to 250 with the CTA, and then it went down to 70. But originally people were saying like, you need way more than what we're actually giving people. And I think essentially like, people could take a lot more than what we state on our boxes or our packaging and be more than safe, more than like, I don't see any danger in it, to be honest.
It should be guidelines like food though. You think about it, you go into a shop and like Sainsbury's, I think, are the ones that do the wheel on the front. I think that's universal packaging now across them. And it's like, and so the whole thing is like 75 billion%, but they go, one portion. And then you look at the portion of a thing that's in 6 and it's 1/4. Yeah. And so it's the same sort of thing. They know you're going to smash that fucking box. They know the big bags of popcorn or whatever. Like one handful is a serving. It's like nobody opens it and goes one and goes, that's all I'm allowed. It's a recommendation. It's not a fucking...
The other day, and it said 19 servings on the back. And I was looking at this pack of biscuits and there was 20 biscuits in it. What the hell?
You're going to cut the last one off into 19.
Yeah. I was like, this is a joke. I mean...
1 and a 19.
Yeah. But anyway. Moving on, man. It's frustrating talking about the dosage thing.
But I mean, like that's not. It's not the worst thing ever because, as you say, you can't. As long as you kind of like put it on the box, and you don't like directly advise someone to be taking more than 10, then it doesn't really matter so much as long as the right information.
It's come out as a guidance thing. It's come out as a recommendation. It's not a law. It's not actually a thing that anyone. It's not an obligation. We don't have to do it yet. But they always start like this. They always start with a few little directives, a few little measures, and then it will start going. All right, now we've off the back of that, we need to do this, and it will just. I reckon this is going to get worse. Unfortunately,
I think.
But all the. Sorry, Leon. Go on.
I think this is going to become a prescription thing for CBD.
That's what I'm thinking. Yeah,
that's what we were talking about this, and I think that's where
we're at a point where we're like, do we pivot the business towards something else now? Because if it does become prescription, I mean, obviously we're out of the game.
Yeah, we're not allowed.
We're out of the game completely unless we're going to be able to operate like a private clinic where all our products are approved by some sort of NHS body, or I don't know who would approve them right now, but unless we're allowed to sell those products, we're going to be kind of stuffed in a few years' time.
Well, there's going to be like, effectively, it's something I discussed on last week's podcast. Although it's weird because I recorded it yesterday, so it's not out yet. But the previous podcast, and when you're seeing this podcast, people, was there are these partnerships occurring. You know, Teesside Cannabis Club with Medica, the former Medicate Lounge. I think former, because I think unfortunately they've had to shut down. They were partnered with Sapphire. You've now got Big Nasty Medical. .co.uk. I don't know what clinic he's attached to, but there's their overheads, their online whatever, and there's maybe a business centre somewhere, but the majority of the people are diffused and work from home for better overheads. But they're going to want sign-ups. They're going to want these spaces on the high street, and I think that's what they're kind of trying to put the pressure on. Like, I agree entirely. I think this drop it to 10 means that you couldn't afford. So then if they're going, oh, this is a 10, so you're only allowed 10 of these per packet, that's your dosage of the thing. That's 100 milligram. That's what, as you were saying before, what somebody would have been taking for a dose prior and been getting much more I can make all claims I fucking want, but frankly, a much better effect than if they were taking a lower dose. So then all the people that have found it effective for them, they're going to have to go on to then Epidiolex or whatever it is that the pharmaceutical system produces for them, or back to the black market or the grey market, however we want to term it, because if these products can be produced in Ireland or they can be produced in Germany, then there's a little bit of water between us, but that hasn't stopped anything. Do you know what I mean? You were saying, they stopped all organic imports into this fucking country. The drugs kept flowing. The cocaine kept flowing. Do you know what I mean? It's
literally more cocaine in this country than there ever has been, apparently, like from reading about stats. But yeah, totally. I'm 100% with you.
Do you know what? Like, it is just like, it is a big kick in the teeth. And I think that is kind of one of the directions we're sort of looking to go in as well in terms of
cocaine.
No, not right now.
Profit margins.
Yeah, good profit margins.
Great. No, we're definitely under too much watch to be doing it.
YouTube, that was a joke. YouTube, that was a joke.
Yeah, we're squeaky clean. But yeah, like honestly, where was I even going with that before?
Sorry to cut you.
Yeah, what was I? Yeah, what we want to kind of be getting into that referral type thing, I think, a little bit as well.
A few clinics have kind of approached us and asked us if we'd be up for that. We're actually doing. There's a group called Sanskara, and they are basically advocating for just spreading awareness. They just want to spread awareness.
Platform.
Yeah. And they are basically going to be doing a day in the shop with us on the 8th of December. So they're going to come in and basically just for people that want to sign up and to give them as much information as possible, how they can access medical cannabis. So I think that's quite a good thing, like the way they're doing it. And from there, we're going to be in talks with a few other like clinics that maybe we can be the people that they come and sign up with us.
Yeah, so
we
like,
pass it on to them
in the way
just
that
to try and drive awareness, basically.
Like be kind of part of what Sanskara are doing in terms of educating people of how to get medical cannabis if they needed it. And like how they legally could.
The amount of people that still don't even realize you can get it on medical.
Yeah.
Like people have not got a clue. I mean, obviously it hasn't really been like broadcast out to the public that much.
To know that much.
Wait, they're stuck with the same sort of limitations that you guys are with CBD. It's a difficult thing because it's difficult to discuss because my fucking cringe reflex is going crazy because every time I hear it, it's like I've come full circle back to it. That technically on prescription, medical is the right word because it is within the system of authorization in the pharmacological paradigm that we exist under. Medicinal is self-guided, self-administered. Yeah. So the people without a prescription, all of that use is medicinal. But then in the medical use, their use is still medicinal, but the product is technically medical. So my fight with Mike Barnes resulted in the CIC changing their name to the Prescription Cannabis Group. So I've been trying to call it Prescription Cannabis as a way to separate from it because I've had through the club, for all Durham City doesn't really operate, I still get messages once or twice a week. Can you help me get medical cannabis or like medical grade cannabis? It's like it's frustrating because the grading systems that they've created are the same as they've done like kind of with the CBD. It's an obfuscation. It's an illusion of safety. Yeah. So they've created EU GMP, which is about packaging. It's got fuck all to do with how the product is produced. It's got fuck all to do with what they put in it. And there is no disclosures by any of the clinics to tell you what they're growing their products with. None of them are proudly saying that this is organic. So what does that tell us?
People talking about like, no one knows what's going on with this cannabis that they're providing.
How it even got here? Like, where's it come from? Is it? Do you know what I mean?
They don't want transparency. I mean, I've spoken to, not going to name you, one of the former heads of one of the biggest groups that are at play within it, one of the biggest like dispensing groups, and basically they're just filling pots to percent, so that you're prescribed 20-1, 20% THC, 1% CBD. The cultivars are relevant to them. Yeah, so you're being given something that's super high in fucking orangey, citrusy terps, which for some people can cause them to be quite anxious. And so if you're then prescribed that 20-1 based on anxiety and you're given something like cushy and along those kind of things where it's a bit more mellow, a bit more closed head, you know what I mean, and a bit calmer, slower. So you get something like that blows your head open, all of a sudden you have negative reactions to that, but according to the system, you're provided it. But so I'm saying if they're going to need to merge some of us lot, as it were, the legacy space and the people that are actually based on education. But the more we do it, in order for us to kind of fit into their model, they're gonna have to answer our fucking questions. And if they can't answer our questions, then we can't be that face for them. So it's hopefully mechanisms like this with people like yourself working with them, we can draw them to be more accountable for it. Because they're just basically able to say that, no, this came in a magic pot and a doctor prescribed it. That immediately means that has to be the best medicine. Just, you know what I mean, in terms of the rhetorical trick it does to our brain.
Just by didn't know it was given by a doctor. But yeah, it's just crazy. Like
it is a crazy kind of concept, to be honest. Like that is how the system works right now. But like, I think, as you say, like if we then start working with Sanskara, start trying to spread knowledge about medical, and we link up with some like clinics that can prescribe it, and we know everything about each, then that's great. But it always will be great to a point, because we can never really say like what they actually will get. And like they got to pay money for it as well. It's not like it's going to be free.
No,
it's like, and a lot of people might already have a source that's not legal, but they are sure that it's clean or it's done in a certain way. That, do you know what I mean? It's like,
no, we all know people that have produced some nice clean plants. But I don't know about any of these pots. Like I've been seeing people opening online and going, look, I've got medical cannabis.
Yeah.
And then it's like, where is that coming from? No one knows the background of it.
Who even grew it?
Who grew that?
And so that's what I want. It's just that transparency and that holding them to accountability. Because at the minute, I'm forced to be a prescription holder because I'm on an autism assessment waiting list for the NHS. That's the 3 to 4 fucking years. I've been waiting a year. And I've just got a letter confirming that I'm on it. About every 3 months, the ringers go, still on the list. But the NHS stipulation to that is that I'm not a drug user because of my history of being open with them about my drug use. And then was bullied through psychiatry to needing this fucking pot to continue an assessment. And so as I've said to the people, the pot is a brilliant benefit to me in terms of its therapeutic benefit when I'm in the car. I can have THC in my system. I can be as high as I fucking want driving. Obviously, I'll only ever do it safely. I'm not a fucking idiot, but that's the benefit I get from it. The actual flower they provide it's mids at best. Do you know what I mean? It's snickle fritz compared to what I grow, compared to what I can access, compared to the people I know. But I'm in a privileged position. Other people that can't get anything but like 1.8, 20 bags, even if you still get them if they're that high, on kids on bikes, you know, and tinfoil and whatever else. And so it's this spectrum. So everybody needs a better access. But if it was more like what you guys were presenting with the CBD flowers, if it's a dispensary, come look at the products, come ask us about the products, come be nerdy about it and learn. That transparency is what we really need, you know?
That is exactly the reason to be transparent as well, was we are in a shop that people can come back and speak to us about it. Like, it's not just, we're not hiding behind some sort of website where you don't know who the founders are, the owners are. We're literally there. So if you want to speak to us, we're going to be there in the shop today. Like after this podcast, we're heading to the shop to go and deal with some people. So you have to be transparent in a sense, because apart from you're not going to lie to people, people can come back and pull you up on shit if you've said the wrong thing or if you like, you know what I mean? Said, oh, this is definitely going to, this will knock you out. This will put you to sleep. No, you can't be saying shit like that. But having the shop front almost obligates you to be kind of like transparent about it. Which I think is like a very important thing within this industry.
It's like what you said, just be nerdy, because like a lot of other people don't have time to be nerdy. Like everyone's got a lot going on, but this is like literally what we do. So like, let us be nerdy, let us be professional, let us know everything about it, let us be informed, and so we can be informative.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, you know what I mean? Like that's not the way they see it, and that's not the way.
No, we've had to battle a lot with like people come into our shop, ask us a load of questions about a product, and then they'll go and buy it online somewhere cheaper. And I'm like, fair enough. Like if you haven't got enough cash and you need to go and do it that way, I'm more than happy to still give you the information. I'm not going to say, are you going to make sure you buy it from our website? I'm not going to say that, but quite often, more often than not, people will speak to us and see that what we're about and go and buy it from our website. Or they'll come back a few days later after they've absorbed the knowledge, gone and read a little bit about it, and they've come back and say, you know what, guys, I really had a good interaction with you, so I'm coming back to buy my products from you. And that's the long and short of it in terms of how our business has operated through all this kind of shit, like through COVID, through, I mean, the cost of living crisis right now is really like hitting us quite hard, because obviously the products we sell are not the cheapest.
They're premium.
We're they're verging on premium products, and not everyone's got premium money in their pocket right now. So it's kind of tricky, but we kind of got to stick to our guns, you know what I mean, and stick to what we're doing. And
yeah, and I mean, like, we do make them like kind of. The thing is, we just use the highest quality ingredients, and like we make sure it's all sourced from like high quality places. So
somewhere we can
obviously
traceability.
That also means that it costs a lot more to make the products that we make, and like obviously the place that we're at is not cheap rent. We're in London as well, so wages are the living wage in London, like the minimum wage, even to pay shop staff and stuff, is way higher than even other places in the country.
Anywhere else. Yeah.
It's like, do you know what I mean? So it's like, to do what we do in the way that we do, there's a lot of outgoings, and so like we price it as fairly as we can, but we know for sure that the person's getting what we're saying they're getting, sort of thing.
That's
The main. And that's the other thing with everything that goes on with the government and stuff. They're making it so hard for a small business because everything costs so much. It's like, even like shipping, how much is shipping now? If you need to get anything from the EU, the taxes, the import
and we've
charges,
lost business in Europe. Like, we're not selling to anyone in Europe anymore. Like, the cost of buying products off us to send to Europe, it's just too much, and people don't want to spend it. So,
and we had quite a big client base in Europe for a bit, so it's like everything is against us in a way, but like,
don't want to sit here being too negative. Like, we do have an amazing time, and it's like we are still operating. The business is still floating. It's not like turning over huge amounts at the moment, but it's still creating a lifestyle for us that's really like nice. We're doing things like this, which is part of our job right now, and
hopefully one day it'll be something like we'll be a part of what made the difference.
Yeah, hopefully.
I would state right now, gentlemen, that you already are, and I will unequivocally state that you are far more informed than the prescribers, than the businessmen in suits, than the vast majority of the individuals that have created the medical cannabis industrial complex. They are con men, salesmen, charlatans, all of them. I say that having spoken with the majority of you fuckers, so don't get at me. You don't even watch my content, so fuck you. But the point still being that, like, the genuine sincerity, that is what shines through. People remember fucking Portobello Road, a head shop on Portobello Road because of the authenticity that stood in that premises. Lee established it to create a hub for others, a space in dark times, and he supported all right. A multitude of fucking different campaigns, you know what I mean, the things, and it was always a place, a physical place for others. And I think that's the evolution of these spaces, is we need our own churches, we need our own congregations, we need our own communities where we can come together and celebrate this openly. And if they want to have their system and they want to have a place on the fucking high street, it is through us we allow them to operate. And so they may give us X, Y, Z, but it's, if we can educate every patient, every consumer, to the point of every cannabis nerd and activist and advocate, they wouldn't be able to do shit. They really wouldn't. And so more power to you is in this fucking space. And I agree. It's, as we spoke of before, it's climbing Everest. It's a difficult fucking task, but the view is beautiful. But the problem you guys face is the false summits. They keep telling you it's just there. You get over that fucking thing, and then you see it again, and another mountain. It's that erosion of that passion. It's the erasure of the authenticity that you exude, like you exude to me on this fucking podcast, that this is the space you want to be in, this is the thing you want to fucking do. And I just want to see that encouraged more and more, because as you said, it's not just head shops that are going under in these alternative spaces. It's literally music venues are disappearing, public spaces are disappearing, benches on street corners. They're trying to remove us from each other. And if they're going to censor us online and say, you can't do this and we're not going to show you shit, we should start using their rules. I've probably converted quite a few head shops that now have lounges. The current laws say that basically you can create a friendly space for all of these medicinal clients. If they then want a space, you fucking pivot. Find that other revenue resource, and then while they're doing that and getting access to this system, we're training them how to use that to get out on the street to lessen others. So if then you're signing up 1,000 people into that spot that then go out as evangelicalists for cannabis on the street and then confuse and beguile all those cops get to a point where they smell cannabis and they go, I can't fucking deal with this. Do you know what I mean? So there's ways to use these systems but still be authentic. Do you know what I mean? And that's what I think some of the clinics are starting to understand. The only way they've got longevity is by hybridizing with the legacy culture.
Yeah. I agree. Thank you very much for the kind words as well. I really appreciate that. And you yourself as well, you've been an advocate for it for many, many years. I've been following your podcast, been following your pages, and it's one of the other pillars of the scene, I would say. I think everyone in the scene who's like properly into it will know about you and all the activism that you've put into it. So appreciate you as well. Thank you, mate.
Yeah, you were like one of the first people on the list because we had like we were like looking at other podcasts and like in the kind of scene, and there's actually not like loads.
It's not that many
talking about the UK in this way, and like you're definitely like the one we were like, oh, it would be sick to be able to.
It was great that you that you put that comment on. I think one of the bits of content that we put up on Insta, and I'm glad that we managed to link up. It's been a great little chat.
We're gassed.
I was gonna say like a few years ago, like your podcast and Tyler Green as well. He was another one I would always watch every morning and see his little kind of like live stream that he did, and it's just like. It's great to see that you're still doing it, still active. He's not active anymore. I think he's just about to come back. But yeah, it's nice to see that there are some serious people in the scene that are into it. They're not just
doing it.
I mean, what you're doing right now isn't going to pay you money. You know what I mean? Ain't going to pay a wage. This is your
costs me money technically to be sat here, but I don't care. It saves me money in the long run, and it gives me a better quality of life because I get to sit here with like-minded people and go the fucking world, and I don't have to explain too much of that. The other people are like, yeah, the fucking world. And I'm like, oh, good, I'm not alone. And then we can talk about the nuance. You know, it's
about just spreading the awareness. You know, what I mean, letting people, like normal people, inverted commas, to watch this kind of podcast and go, yeah, these guys are actually real people. They're talking about like issues within the society, and we're not just here going, oh yeah, man, did you smoke that OG Kush the other night? It was really tasty. Like, how did you feel? Yeah. It's not just that. It is a little bit of that. I'm not going to take it away, but yeah.
Hey, there are people I find that do it far better. I look at Drew. Me and Drew have been trying to arrange a fucking podcast recording for about 2 fucking years, but his content, same with like Tyler. Tyler always did really good content on the product. And I care more about the nuance of the history, the culture of the ideas of the bigger picture stuff. I'm just nerdy about it. This is the culture that has harnessed the best, most positive aspects of my personality that have given me hope and some form of prosperity and opportunity in this world. And I'll be here regardless. I mean, I've lost some years. I mean, I lost nearly $7,000 on an event in 2018. You know what I mean? It will still keep going. I'll pay that every year as a tax to be able to sit in this space and have these conversations, because same as yourself, like I said, you are part of the foundations of it. You are a cornerstone. You are a pillar of what will be built ahead of us. We don't know what it looks like yet. None of us fucking do. But we know we need that 6 foot of fucking concrete. And that's going to require, I don't want to say martyrdom or fucking sacrifice, but like effectively, that's kind of what it is. It is kind of a sacrifice knowing that the others will get to have a fucking world. And I still already see it now. The rocky bits of tack, like exploding with plastic that I was smoking in lungs as a teenager, compared to the teenagers these days that are like, oh, I've got this triple distillate, bubblegum vape. Da, da, da. Like, they've got that because we've done what we have done. Do you know what I mean? We are passing that torch to the next generation. And even if we don't get to be warmed by that light, we know the light will continue.
Trust. I mean, cannabis isn't going anywhere. That's 100%. I mean, all you got to do is look around Europe. The amount of countries in Europe that are becoming recreational, legalizing it. America's one of the biggest powerhouses of Europe, and they're about to become recreational. I mean, what the hell is going on in the UK?
Look at. I mean, the ultimate one for me is look at Singapore. They kill people constantly for cannabis offenses. And people still consume cannabis. Yeah. There is something about this plant. I believe not a god per se in that sense, but like if there is a divine right, it is to the seeds and herbs, as is written in the fucking Bible. Again, not Christian, but in terms of the conceptual idea of it, it is on the fucking ground. It's a weed, literally. If you just drop the seeds, it should acclimatize to most fucking places.
Yeah.
Well, the mutants fucking. Yeah.
I mean, look at the whole thing of Thailand as well. They've kind of gone completely switched it up, but now apparently they're switching it back.
Thailand's interest, because the last election, the political party that came in, for all they were progressive on some fronts, they're basically like, fuck the cannabis thing. But then they're kind of talking about it and going, yeah, but how much money? But then, but what does this do? And I think the issue will come down in Thailand is it's the same as in the UK. And I think they suffer the same problem, is the monarchy. Yeah. It is this idea of a ruling elite, and that then gives rise to nobility and this hierarchical structure of society. And what cannabis is, as Trev Coleman always says, it is a socialist resource, a capitalist resource with a socialist agenda.
Mm-hmm. They kind of made a mistake though, because they just kind of threw it out open to everyone, and
too fast.
Way too quick, and the land hadn't adjusted land prices and stuff, considering what was about to happen.
What was about to get made.
Loads of people just bought land real cheap and made cannabis farms. All of a sudden, saturated. There's way too much cannabis. There's not enough people to sell it to. They thought they were going to be the new Amsterdam or the new Barcelona, because Barca's still quite fine, but Amsterdam is getting funnier and funnier. There's always conversations going on about what they're changing and blah blah blah.
They'll be talking about changing the rules and regulations for a while. For long.
So they were kind of thinking we're going to be that new haven, but it's like people from England can't always just afford to fly for the weekend to Thailand. Do you know what I mean?
They were always. It was always for medical, as far as they were concerned. That's what they were trying to get people to understand. But it's an arbitrary distinction. Like I said, I'm prescribed that fucking pot, but according to the rules of our pot, he's smoking it, so it's not medical anymore. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? When I grow and smoke my own, and that's skunk, that's street weed, that's dangerous. But the magic pot that's the safe weed. And because of those hypocrisies, people are thinking, well, fuck you, I can do what I want. They can do it, why can't I do it? And that's what the system have got to understand, that when they let us go, there is going to be this corrective period of time where we're going to fucking have money. We're going to have money because we're not going to want to support you. We're going to remember, the UK's just fucking legalized on XYZ. I'm going to go to that other side. Do you remember how 4 years ago they were doing the thing? People will remember that and want to honor that. And even if they don't have the money to do it now, when the time fucking comes, all the con men and the charlatans will converge to get their multi-trillion dollars fucking international conglomerates and all the rest of it. Yeah. Where the real fucking day-to-day thing is going down is with the people who were there, the people that protected it, that are respected for it. And I think the issue in Thailand, like I said, with going back the other way, is the same problem with most other countries. They're so entrapped in Americana. Even this idea now of, I call it neo-legalization, of this corporate legalization models, it's an American export. And literally Thailand is crashing because the quality of the product they're producing isn't getting up to the level of the imports that they're getting from the States. And what the issue is that the big boys know, but nobody wants to talk about, is the boxes that leave the States, that leave Canada, are the ones that can't be sold in their markets because they're hot. They've either got too much lead, they've got fucking this pesticide, they've got this, that's got mold, that's got XYZ. So it's still a premium product, but it's got XYZ of an issue surrounding it, you know what I mean? And then once it lands in a different market with people that are uninformed, but that's Cali and it's in a magic little Mylar pack. Yeah. And that's crazy. What drives their want. Whereas, traditional Thai stick and this, because again, most of the things out there, big, lengthy sativa tradition. I hate the distinction, but traditionally cannabis sativa expressions. So looser buds. It's not going to be those tight, rock hard, glistening nugs that you're fucking used to from indoor growing and more equatorial growing of indica classic in air quotes indica cultivars.
Yeah, it's funny, isn't it? So I wonder where that's going to lead, and then I wonder where the German recreational over there. I wonder how that's going to lead. Is it going to be dispensaries? Is it going to be shops selling it, or is it going to be?
I mean, what they've announced is not looking good. I mean, the cannabis clubs are now growers clubs. So they've basically said, each household, regardless of the number of occupants, can grow up to 3 plants per year. But these genetics must be sourced from the clubs. The clubs, in order to get their genetics, must be pre-approved from the government. Okay. And so
sounds a bit like the Uruguay, how they went down the Uruguay. It's all kind of like government weed.
So it's not, they're going to call it legalization because you can access it for non-medicinal purposes. but it's not what Pete Tosh was singing about when he was saying legalize it. It's not what Bob Marley and that were thinking of when they were thinking legalize it. They were thinking end criminalization, open access. If you can, I can, we all can.
Yeah. And it's definitely not going to be that. But
yeah, it's just another manifestation of it. And to me, it feels actually, Germany is Europe's biggest economy. It's like 85 million people, but it's also Europe's largest medical cannabis market, if we want to call Ecuador's medical cannabis. The prescription market, it's like over 100 and I can't read the number in my head. It's definitely over 100,000 fucking patients, whereas we're about 32,000 over here. But you think of the money that's involved in our side of the market, and it feels kind of a twinned thing that they're just going to then try and slot that in and then just go, well, all use is medical. And they're going to basically take all cannabis use and move it into this medical apparatus. That means all cannabis anywhere that's cultivated will have to be under pharmaceutical productive licenses and regulations and...
No, it's quite because it's quite obvious. Like that was literally the first thing I thought when the 10 milligram thing got announced. Like is because the FSA is under government agenda. They've got clear direction, and that is it. They're going to make it so actually now anything over 10 milligrams is medical. Oh, actually now cannabis completely medical. Do you know what I mean? And if you want to use CBD, you got to have a prescription. If you want to use THC, you got to have a prescription. And where you get the prescription from, you can only get it from X, Y, and Z.
And I guarantee we won't know about this happening until it happens. You know what I mean? There won't be some kind of like, oh, guys, obviously you're sellers of CBD, but this is what's happening next year. So get yourself prepared. This will just get dropped on us one day. They'll be like, right, it's going to be
basically just be like, here's a license you've got to pay from next year. Here's a mandatory training you've got to do. And here's your approved list of suppliers that you're allowed to work with.
Buy from It's just going to just kill the scene, kill the market completely.
And I guarantee there will be European farms and factories and labs that have certain shareholders that are sitting in other certain chairs.
Of course, of course. I mean, we started selling the adaptogenic mushrooms like chaga, reishi, lion's mane, etc. And that market it reminds me a little bit of what CBD was 5 years ago, 6 years ago. And you could buy it from all sorts of places. There's no kind of real traceability on it. It's quite hard to come by. It's quite expensive if you want to buy it from the UK, really cheap if you want to buy it from Europe. But I can imagine that going the same sort of direction as well. At the moment, it's like a real hot market.
Yeah.
But I can imagine it going the same sort of direction where they'll be like, actually, it's a novel food now. Or actually, we're going to have to regulate this, or packaging's going to have to change, or because there's kind of no real direction on that either at the moment. It's a bit of a open end, like there's no one telling you how much lion's mane you can take a day. There's like studies on it as to what's the beneficial amount, but we don't need to put that on any packaging. There's no obligation towards that. So again, it's a little bit like it's a bit like how the snake oil, CBD oil, CBD snake oil that people were selling like 5 to 10 years ago. But again, the big boys will jump into it soon and try and make their money out of it.
But they don't even want a slice; they just want the whole cake.
They want the whole cake.
They don't want it to be a separate thing. They want to cut off part of it, pharmaceuticalize it. There you go. That's the medical thing. That'll be dealt with by your GWs, your Jazzes, your various other fucking large players like that, your GlaxoSmithKlines, etc. Then the one, like supplements. All right. So now the standardized, there's 5 producers in the world that make the supplements, and then we just white label them for Holland and Barrett or fucking insert other companies that are applicable. Do you know what I mean? And they want that massage chain. Same with all food and everything else. The illusion of competition at the consumer level with packaging and advertising and whatever, but they own the vertically integrated supply chain, and that money never leaves that elite echelon of individuals, so that it can't ever do good in the world.
Like the Codex Alimentarius, don't know if you know about that thing, where they just basically want to control all the food as well. So there's a whole directive about like putting certain things in food to obviously make people need the food more salt, more sugar, eventually needing medication from Big Pharma, who they also control. So if you Google that, Codex Alimentarius, it's a crazy ass. Another subject completely, but this is kind of the same sort of thing what they're doing with this. But
entirely the same man that sells the fear sells the portion. You know what I mean? It's their,
of course,
they're very adept at this. They've mass marketed it, and they've had different pockets to play around with it. You've got to then think of
the beginning about like you kind of got to give it to them. They're so smart with their systems and the way they deal with it. And I mean, it's like, I don't want to really get into politics, but the government and their agendas, big pharma, the food industry, whatever, all the agrochemical industry, they're so smart about the way they do everything that you kind of got to give it to them and say, hands up, you guys have like covered all bases. Like it's
a monopoly and it's been going on for a long time.
Yeah, it's not just
now. Do you know what I mean? This has been a project for a year. The
plan is like it's thorough. You know what I mean? It's thorough. They've covered everything, but we're just kind of trying to operate in between certain lines and trying to do what we can in certain like aspects of life while we can, like yourself included, even just running a podcast like this. Have you had issues with censorship? Have you had stuff taken down? I'm sure you have.
Quite a lot. I've had a few arguments with YouTube, quite a lot of arguments with Meta. And again, like just general, like you say, shadow banning. My analytics do not represent 5,500 on this, 3,000 on this, like as in followers. But then I'll post something and it's like 4, 6. Yeah. Even my Meta analytics jokes the advert going, this post could gain an extra 80 people views, and it's the boost button, and I'm like, 80? Why would you even want me to pay for an extra 80 people? Like, it's just an absurdity, but it's not going to disincentivize me from doing it, because my livelihood, to me, I would rather live in the gutter authentically than in a mansion inauthentically. There is nothing you could promise me. There is nothing you could offer me. If I know you're bullshitting me, I'm gonna have to call you out on that. That maybe is the reason I'm getting obviously investigated for autism or whatever. There is something that is just I see wrong. That's bullshit. That's bullshit. And we're winning though. We are getting somewhere, because they're having to co-opt our language. They're having to now, how can I say this? Capture certain I was going to say historical figures there. That's not what I mean. Certain influential figures, to move them around like on a giant chessboard, to massage the appearance of what is actually happening right now. I'm trying to speak in very aloof terms there, because I don't actually want to say what I'm kind of saying. But what I mean is that power corrupts. Absolute power corrupts, absolutely. And it's the more money and the more power that's coming into it, because of the censorship and the way I know it. If I see a company or a person or a thing doing well and being promoted by the system, my brain goes bullshit. After instantly, and then I go, okay, I'll go look at it. But the fact that it's allowed to exist, the fact that it's being promoted is, that's an advert. How's that company got an advert? It's got nothing to do with what the product of the thing is, like you say, because if it's CBD, it's CBD, it's CBD, it's CBD. It's who is the company connected to? Who did they pay? Who are their shareholders? Do you know what I mean? And it's when you start to look at that structure of it, it is, as I said, it's that very thin veneer. They're taking the cream of it all for them fucking selves, and they're just going to chuck out the fucking milk, and then they're going to rebrew it again, and they go, we'll take that, and then chuck the rest fucking out.
I mean, that's how it goes in all industries, really, unfortunately.
Yeah. And that's neoliberal capitalism. That's shareholder capitalism. Yeah,
that we live in. But I don't know. It's like I tend to find myself getting really negative about stuff like this and going, fuck this place. I don't want to live here, or I don't want to be part of it. I want to be like out of the system completely. But as much as I want that, the system benefits me as well. As you know what I mean? We all have a kind of like slight benefit from it. We're all living in a country where we're not worried about bombs. We're not worried about mad viruses, although there was one that came about that I don't even know if it was real or not. But but do you know what I mean? We're all still living quite a nice life here. Like, we're talking on a Zoom call right now during the day on a Thursday afternoon. Yeah. So we have to kind of like take it into account that we are pretty well off as well. As much as there's a lot of shit going on, we do have it pretty good.
Yeah, considering everything else in the world, it's like we're lucky.
Yeah, it's like the paradox of privilege. I think it's one of the reasons I've suffered so much into depression recently is I am in an incredibly privileged position in terms of to be able to have my own garden, to be able to access my own genetics, to be able to speak to people around the world, to have a reputation and a respectability that if I send contacts to somebody, 9 times out of 10, they'll fucking respond to me. Do you know what I mean? They'll have that capability and that privilege. But then at the same time, yeah, exactly. I find myself often in this position of, well, it's all fucking shit. But it isn't. I'm almost trying to get to the bottom in my brain. If I can just get to the bottom, then we can reorder it and get it right. And it's the people like saying I'm catastrophizing or this or that or the other. And it's like, I can see how it could be taken that way. But to me, it's just that's the way the reality is. And we kind of have to build it. And I think it's from people that are wired or programmed that way, that are capable of doing that, means that the depths not all of us have to go at the bottom. Do you know what I mean? And I think that's kind of my obligation, my privilege, my curse, is I want to sit in this tiny fucking room and just read all the books, connect all the media. I'm trying. I can't satiate it. I can't cease it because it's the only motivation I have. But there's still hope there. I am an optimist. For a lot of my long-term listeners would probably disagree with this. I am an eternal optimist because I believe the fact that I can find out these things, we can sit here and talk these things, means there's still an opportunity to do something. We're truly not in Orwell's 1984. We're not so far removed into like a Bradburyan censorship reality. There's still an opportunity for humanity to spark back. And the recent conflicts in the Middle East, to me, is a symbol of that. The solidarity of the world moving, not the world's leaders, but the people who actually occupy this, the humans that walk upon this planet. That is comforting to me. I can see that. I don't know, like I said, what it looks like, but I know if we build this foundation, we could build it as high as the fucking heavens. Do you know what I mean? We could inhabit everybody within this beautiful utopian structure.
And I guess that's why we're still here talking, and that's why we still got the shop running. That's why you still have your podcast, because we do have that hope. Like, I mean, as I'm in agreement with all what you're saying just there. It's like there's definitely a foundation level. There definitely we can build on it, and spreading awareness eventually will be the key. Will be, you know what I mean? There's,
But it's difficult as well because the people that are in the positions that can make a difference come from a world where they wouldn't understand why you would want to, sort of thing.
Unless it's money,
like, why would you throw everything away? Like, and like these guys, like they might have traveled in their time, but they haven't traveled properly and like met people or like locals and like, do you know what I mean? They've stayed in big villas and 5-star hotels or whatever. And it's like, not really actually. That's about traveling makes you open-minded and makes you realize how other people think because they come from a certain culture or background, or I don't know. That's just something about learning people, and that's what the people in power don't have. Like, there's a lot of people struggling around the world, but also in our country. Like there's stats about like 1 in 4 kids in the UK at the moment is only having like 1 to 2 meals a day max, or not even having a meal sometimes. Like the
poverty levels in the UK at the moment are astonishing.
It's
really,
like how can someone like Rishi Sunak, who hasn't been voted for starters, but also hasn't known a life without millions and millions of pounds around him, like
how can he understand
how could he possibly put himself in the shoes of someone and figure out what is best for them? Like, because it's and that is
we've been run by elites who don't have anything in common with your everyday person on the street or that lives a normal life. So
that's why that's why the system cripples us.
Yeah, of course,
because they don't understand it from our point of view. We can see what we can see what their point of view is, but they will never get it from ours.
I think it's scary that we understand there are different points of view. They just think we're wrong. That's the scary thing. You think of it, you are born at that level of wealth. So your parents, they go out into the fucking home counties and they buy a giant, not just detached, but like super detached, like 20 fucking meters on either side, giant hedges. Like, and you grow up in that environment where everyone else is of that mentality, and all you see is that. You then go to schools that are privately paid for that are only those people. You know what I mean? It self-reflects to a point where I can't help it. Everyone is a victim under neoliberal capitalism, but some of us are victims in Ferraris. And that has to be corrected. Do you know what I mean? They may not be aware of it. They're a victim of different things. They're very comfortable in what they're doing, but there's a hollowness to it. When you look at depression levels through class, doesn't discriminate, because the fucking Ferrari doesn't make you any happier. It might excite you, stimulate you, get you access to the women that you wanted, or some dude's be like, oh, check out that guy's car, or whatever momentarily temporary gesture it is. But that thing inside of us, what I think used to be called like the God hole, the thing that whatever it is that manifests, if it's crocheting for you, if it's a marathon running, if it's deep dive sea diving, or whatever obscure thing it is that makes you human, that is the thing that we're seeking to pursue. And they don't have that. That's the money hole, the money pit. And I made $1 billion last year. Yeah, but this guy made $2 billion. Next year, I'm going to make $3 billion. You just watch. And it's like, yeah, but for every billion you have, there's 1 million people that have fucking nothing. Yeah. They're so distracted and removed from it, and it is literally what they would put down on a lunch, or like that luxury feel. I'm going to India next year, you know, and the mansion that they'll pay for, and the concierge services and all the rest. They'll never see India. They'll speak of this spiritual experience they had, but it will have never actually hit their fucking ego. It's the same thing you see in through psychedelics, and the same group of people that moved cannabis at the investment level and now into psychedelics and pushing this again, this ego fortification rather than this erasure, this recognition that there is no other. There is just me in fucking drag, or in different garb, you know?
It's mad. It's total disassociation from like reality in a sense.
Yeah.
Like they literally living in their own bubble.
Yeah.
But it's relative, like you're saying, like they've just grown up with huge hedges around their house. If they don't see anyone else, and their issues are their issues, and our issues are our issues, and just it's relative, but it's also so disassociated.
That's why that's like, it's kind of like, it's almost like, I guess when you're saying you got to respect how like much of a shark they are, sort of thing, but it's like, can you even blame them, because they actually don't know anything else?
That's what I mean when I say relative. Like,
they actually
Rishi Sunak does. Is he ever? He's never gonna know it. He's never knows it.
What's happening? He thinks, oh, poor people have lived like that forever. They're fine.
Yeah.
He's never lived a day poor, thinking, shit, am I gonna be able to feed myself
poor,
tomorrow?
They should get up and go to work and do something. Work harder, so they're not poor. That's what he thinks.
Yeah.
It's like a reverse empathy almost, isn't it? It's like they're looking at a person and they're putting them in their shoes and going, well, if I was in your shoes, I'd get up and get new shoes and go get out of the house and go da-da-da-da-da-da. And they can't go, oh, if I'd have lived a different life, I would. I mean, I've got an expression that I always say on the podcast that, like, if I was born as you, raised as you, and lived as you, I would be you. I would think exactly as you, act exactly as you. There would be no difference. There is that shared humanity of a spark that then, through our experiences, alters into them and manifests into who we are as individuals. And most of us I'd like to think a large proportion of people that have an awareness of that empathy can see that intrinsically. They don't need to hear it in such words. They could know that, oh, if I was raised in Africa, I'd be African and I would have those struggles. I can't then think of what my Western ideals or my upbringing would then say on it. And I think what this speaks to on the elite level is what they really don't want to hear or talk about. And we had the best chance of an electoral change, I think, in my lifetime that I've ever seen, with the vote for proportional representation. I mean, every vote we've had for the past 20 years has been sabotaged, but that was fucking nuked. Yeah. And that's what they want, this idea of hereditary leadership, that one rises, but it's repugnant, the idea that one person, I know at this point at 35, I'm learned, I read a lot of fucking books and I absorb everything that I can, but I know I'm humble enough to know that I'll never know everything. And there will always be blind spots. There will always be things I can't speak to, what it is to be an African mother in Zimbabwe. Do you know, I couldn't possibly. Do you know what I mean? In the same way that they couldn't then speak to the northern fucking white boy experience in fucking Durham in an impoverished region. It's, again, perspectively, because they're not exactly doing the best in Zimbabwe. But you get my point being that we have to have that humility, and it's of a coalition of conscious people that I think that we'll actually get somewhere. And the hope, to kind of wrap all this into a nice little bow with it, I think, is their kids will get sick too. Yeah, they'll get sick too. They need weed. Granted, they'll be able to pay for it or whatever else, but the more they drag it along with their capitalist intention, like I said, the socialist agenda comes with it. So the more they have to go through all the loopholes to make sure their kids can get it and they can access it and do whatever, the more it puts into our consciousness that we should have it. And I think cannabis is a resource that, like nothing else, it can turn people into millionaires. Do you know what I mean? Overnight, from a seed, you could grow a field of trillions of plants. It is an infinitely self-replicating resource like that. Nothing else is like it. I think that is the way we can shatter this class paradigm of the haves and the have-nots. And like under 15 years of Tory rule, they've destroyed the middle class. So there's more of us than ever. And I think if we can get, like you say, get them beyond the stigma of cannabis and get them to recognize that actually if they join us on this line, it's the same line as everything else. Do you know what I mean? It's us versus them. It is the ultimate thing. That it is power. It is intergenerational wealth that is the enemy here. And I'm not saying that even the people are not necessarily the enemy in terms of some of them might be nice individuals as humans, but what they represent and what they perpetuate, that is the paradigm that needs challenging. Yeah.
100%. I mean, that's the ideology that you're talking about needs to change, because again, it's just always going to be in the hands of them, and us and them. It's never going to unless people are more aware of it and we talk about it more and spread the message. But I don't know. It's like it's.
I'm sure
tricky.
they do work hard and everything, but it's like I don't think they actually realize how much of it is almost set up for them as well. Like they don't remember that they were given X amount of money to get their first flat, or that they were able to have this education, or that they had at school they made friends with X, Y, and Z who
just
do X, Y, and Z.
Being at certain
and
schools,
all of a sudden, you know, people in an industry in a senior position that can actually put you into places like immediately. And it's like the average person in our country does not have that.
That's the privilege, isn't it?
That's where I think they live in this false reality that they're working all hard and doing blah blah blah, but really they're all just it's all done for them. They're all just like they've got a team of people, and they got a network of people, and between them everything just gets done on the phone, and like
they're not actually like doing the hard graft.
No actual work is being done.
It's an ego circle jerk at that kind of level. Yeah, I've sat in board meetings. I've sat in the foundational meetings of different organizations, and I get about and I observe a lot. And obviously, I'll talk quite openly. I'll talk quite openly anywhere that I am, but people still invite me to these spaces. But yeah, that's what it is. It's just that, oh, you're so good and you did these things, well, we did these things, and it's that as long as they're getting their money and whatever else, the actual product, the service, the means, the labor by which the capital is created is secondary. What is it? It's just these like, oh, we're going to hang out together and get to do. And it's like, look at what's happening with the industry of lobbying in the UK. I think part of the problem is there are a lot of people making money from it taking a long time for us to get anywhere with cannabis in the UK. They're getting all their expenses from their company to go to their fancy drinks in London and in the House of Lords. And it's a certain closed loop ideology, and they don't see their class reflected in it, because what they're doing is they're allowed to succeed and operate in that because they're reflecting the ideals of that veil of capital. They're not actually there to liberate the average individual. I'll admit I'm let's call it a chaos anarchist, because I've got no other way to describe it right now. I am so fundamentally based on the erasure of drug prohibition that I don't give a fuck what comes next, because anything will be better than is. And I can, and then whenever anybody goes, oh, but what about X, Y, Z? Boom, I can rebut you with facts and evidence. So therefore, I feel so extremist and ideologue toward that, because that has been my experience for 20 plus fucking years. It's I don't even know where I was going at that point, but there, have some.
I think it's all be legalized, man.
Yeah, to be honest, it's like if people are educated properly and the market was regulated in a fair way, that's not like, this is the one you need to have because Steve from primary school, he owns that company, so he's in his. Like when it's actually regulated in a fair way with like, okay, this is actually high quality, this is done into these standards and these things are checked about it, and like all of this kind of like happens. I don't wish that would be obviously the ideal scenario, but I don't see, because that also prevents all the people who are trying to do it cheap and quick, because they can't, who are going to do it at a lower quality. So like having the regulations there is good, but having it more of like a free market where people don't have to feel like they have to go through loads of hoops stuff to get there. But I just don't see that happening with our country.
If it got recreationalized in the UK, it would not be fair in that sense. The way you're describing, that's quite utopian. But I think
I don't.
But it's the same with every product and industry, isn't it? Like it's none of it's super fair. It might be all regulated, but there's definitely some companies got more money to advertise more. Some companies got more connections within government, so they allow the rules to be bent a little bit further, whatever. I think it's
that's why I don't think the thing is, it's like, even if our prime minister changes, our government changes, like, the options that are available for people to step in there are not exactly much better, are they? It's like
the left. If you're talking about left and right, it's pretty much the same these days. If you're talking about Labour versus Tory, then it's pretty much the same. I'm sorry, but
I mean, even the smaller parties, they regurgitate we would, legalise. We're actually not. Fair play to the Lib Dems and the Greens. They both speak of decriminalisation. And so I agree that there should be big L, proper noun, I suppose, neo-legalization for commercial entities. But I believe there should be an entirely descheduled and decriminalized for individuals, in the same way, just basically like alcohol. Treat it like alcohol. And this is so I can... Any excess that I've brewed of mine, and I'm like, hey, Davey, fucking have a crate of these, lads. And if he's like, I'll give you some money for that, thank you. There has to be the spectrum of things to exist. And the point of it is that then if you are that good at cannabis, you enter the commercial. Then if you're that good at that, you rise to the top. Yeah. If it's then truly based on the reflection of the product, of the practice of it, if it's transparency, it's authenticity, it's not the gimmicks of, we signed this NBA star. Yeah, well, we've got this singer. Yeah, well, we've got this movie star. It's not about that bullshit optics and that gamifying of it. It's about, does your product actually, can I grow better in my fucking bedroom? And I'm sorry, I'm not bigging up my own shit, but I frankly feel that I can produce a lot better than the majority of shit I see. And the shit that I don't feel I can produce better than the optic of it, I at least know mine's more transparent. I know everything that went into it. I know the pH of the fucking water. Do you know what I mean? I know every product. I know every hand that touched it, the light cycles. I know everything about that. And that to me gives me, I can't buy that. You can't buy that. And
way more than any other brand.
And so what that'll do is when all of those people are allowed to freely do that, they'll disappear out the market. And a lot of that money will disappear, and a lot of the capital stakeholder capitalists will take off, and the industry will be like, oh, fuck. And it'll have to then go through all of these different transmutations into transformations, damn it. Into then figuring out what the consumer actually wants it to look like, not what the regulators want it to look like or the politicians. And that's what happened with pubs. Pubs became the best practice because public houses existed, and then we need to do licensing, we need to do this, do this. And there were always add-ons based on what the population, how the population was interacting with that service. Whereas cannabis, they're doing it the opposite way. They're going, this is what cannabis is going to be. Go. It's not doing it. More laws, more tax, more police, more dirt. And it's like, no, you can't force us into your hole. We will literally go, fuck you, and do what we've done for 95 years in this country now. And just keep doing it anyway.
Keep doing it anyway, exactly.
It kind of reminds me of, on like Vice documentary on YouTube. At the end of every like drugs episode, they're always like, we would like to congratulate drugs for winning the war on drugs. Because it's like, no matter how hard you fight it,
try and regulate anything. There's always going to be a black market or a grey market.
There's going to be someone doing something.
There isn't. As soon as you start putting something into sin, so there is a black market on tobacco, an ever-growing one in this country, especially if we're then going to follow through with this New Zealand idea of raising the smoking age every fucking year. That's just going to increase that. But say cheese, is there a black market cheese market? No, because you've got cheesemongers. You've got every supermarket sells them, every fucking corner shop. It's the availability of a product limits the copyability of it until you then move into luxury, and then you end up with counterfeit luxury goods. But again, that's a consequence of cost restrictions. So actually, if you take away the restrictions in a capital, I hate talking like a capitalist, Jesus Christ. But if you take away the restrictions within it, I literally sound like Thatcher right now, talking about deregulating industry. But if you take away those restrictions and allow there to be that best practice of transparency and of safety at every level, and the consumer is informed, then whatever remains after X amount of time is what the consumers want. And that is the mechanism we have to explore with cannabis. And it's not just the prohibitionists that are against that, or the pharmaceutical industry, or the tobacco, or big ag, or whatever. We now have these, like the medical cannabis industrial complex, or the cannabis industry companies like Trulieve and Curaleaf and all those big scary boys, and where all their fucking money and their intentions lay. They don't want to allow best practice either, because they've built their business model on, actually, if we have restricted these markets and this licensing and this, and so we grow more enemies in a way of people that are trying to profit from our culture. And this is why I say to people, like, I don't make money from this. I choose not to, deliberately, because I can't ethically or morally in my own kind of head of going, my one fight is for freedom and liberation, like I said at the bottom. I don't care what you guys do afterwards. I used to try and run a club, but I did that mainly as an activism space. And then when COVID fucking whacked us out, I've given myself full time to just go in, but liberation, if you guys can make 1 cent from it, 1 penny from it, why are my friends still in jail? Why am I still scared when the blue lights go off in the fucking street? Do you know what I mean? That's what I'm fighting for. And I go back to the analogy of the criminalization of homosexuality. I don't care what the infrastructure after the fact looks like. What if we have pride parades, if we have fucking gay bars, if we have reintegration, if we have discrimination laws, or what? The point is to erase the law right now that says that I am a criminal purely for this action that you have no reason to criminalize. No justifiable, morally, philosophically, lawfully even, because it's against our basic human rights according to the UN and the fucking EU.
I mean, the fact that like you hit the nail on the head. If they're allowed to make money off it, but you're getting deemed a criminal for using it, what the fuck? Like, what the hell? What are we dealing with here? It's bullshit.
We were even laughing before, because, like, if you got caught with some weed, for example, like a couple ounces of weed, and you ended up going to court about it, you wouldn't get jail time, but you'd get a fine.
Yeah.
And they'd literally take your weed and you go pay them. It's like, so you're literally making money.
So you're not worried about my health. You're not going to send me to some sort of clinic. Yeah. You're not going to do anything apart from make me spend more money, and you're going to take away what makes me feel good.
It's a form of taxation in a backhanded way. Do you know what I mean? And this is why I refer to the clinics as racketeering, because it is literally like your mafioso, like, nice health you got here. It'd be a shame if somebody took away your license or sacked you from your job or took your kids taken away. And it's, as long as you pay us though every month and you pay our arbitrary consult. I'm fighting with my clinic right now because I've emailed them and said, nothing is going to be different. It's the exact same criteria it was last time we spoke. I want the exact same product continued. There is no reason for us to speak. And they're obfuscating it. So I've basically said, well, my pot says it's in date till January next year. So I guess I'll speak to you January next year. Like it's like that. I'm sorry. I didn't know there was a dog in the room. I thought there was one of my flat there. Bless him. Hey, but yeah, so it's about the hypocrisy. It's addressing that hypocrisy. But I think my fear is that a lot of people, because of the money and the power is there, well, money and power is success. And if I'm successful, I can't be a bad person. And I think that's the kind of the illusion that people are moving towards. And that's why there's certain legacy individuals moving into the medicinal space, purely in my opinion. So I'm not like making a judgment call or whatever. I just feel that there is this, they need salesmen. They need a means to market it that gets around the restrictions that they themselves advocated to create to keep us out of that space. Oh, you're on mute.
Back?
Yep.
Yeah. So, and I was just saying, like, I see what you're saying about the private medical and stuff, but I kind of feel like I want more people to know about it. And
I agree. Yeah, both things are true for me. I want to see that expanded and whatever else, but it perturbs me that they're making money from it and they know what they're doing and there are these issues.
That side of it is a bit, it still feels that it's not really sitting 100% right in my mind.
Yeah, so like it's a tiny bit
the
like
commercialization of it.
Yeah, it's a tiny bit like selling your soul to the devil sort of thing.
And then
it gives you a level of freedom which you don't otherwise have.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like I said,
dog out this.
I think
bless him.
He just gets anxious and just starts barking sometimes, I think.
I don't blame him. I reckon dogs. There was a study released not that long ago that showed that dogs stay awake at night and worry about their problems. And I have been thinking since I read that I wonder if they're worried about the state of the world as well.
Well, if they knew, they would be really worried.
I think it's like how children kind of reciprocate off their parents' emotions. I think it's a similar sort of thing. They're aware you're anxious and they act anxious, and you're like, why are you anxious? And the dog's like, because you're fucking anxious. And you're like, I'm not anxious, you're anxious.
Dogs really read your energy. Like they're really intuitive on that level. Like they can proper feel it. Funny little things.
Again, I think the domestication of dogs and cats speaks to something in humans, in all humanity, something about us that we are caring, we are connective, we are about more of the experience than we are of the stuff. Do you know what I mean? The stuff has just got in our way.
Yeah, literally.
Sorry, man.
Yeah, I don't know why he just won't stop barking as well, and you can't like. Do you know what I mean? You're not gonna hit him. Like he just.
No, it's horrible because you can't reason. It's like a toddler. And it's like, okay, how can I appease you? I will do the thing to appease you.
It's not like he wants a treat. He's just barking.
There's someone at the door, someone downstairs, like a postman or something.
Oh.
So you can hear someone downstairs and he thinks they're trying to get up.
Someone's downstairs.
Apologies, guys.
All gravy. Quite where there's some time here, so I'm going to look at some notes and see what topics we haven't really covered. I think we've actually covered most of the questions I've got here. Actually, I'm quite curious. Obviously, being on Portobello Road, it is quite a diverse area. Who would you say is sort of your main clientele? Like your sort of face-to-face customers, who do you see sort of the most of, as it were?
Well, that's the thing. Ours is like so spread out,
so diverse.
There's not a single like one type of person that's come. Do you know what I mean? It's like you get, because it's a tourist destination, so there's like lots of tourists, so they could be from anywhere.
Yeah,
you've got people who are real local to the shop that are more like working class, or like, do you know what I mean? Like more like probably more our kind of people, like in a lot of ways, and who are like kind of on the same sort of mindset. They're doing their own, maybe they come for Rizzlers and stuff, less for CBD. And then we've got a lot of people who kind of like come, and they could come from anywhere, from around London mostly, who are looking for like somewhere, like they've been doing a lot of research into CBD, or they've been told to take CBD.
And they want to come and speak to someone about it, like face to face. Like, I mean, in terms of like an age category, we've got customers from like 20 odd to 60, 70. Like, we've got quite a few older like regulars that come and buy their CBD from us. But we're not one of these kind of wellness shops. Like, it's not like you walk in and it's all like pastel colors and we do have incense burning, but it's not like aromatherapy and yoga at the back and Pilates around the side. It's not that kind of shop. So it's quite. There's lots of music playing. We do little events every week. We have DJs come in. We have like open decks. So the diverse crowd. Plus, we've got a tattoo shop in the same space. So there'll be a lot of people doing a tattoo and going, "Oh, you guys sell CBD over there?" Yeah. And then they come to us afterwards. So I couldn't say to you one category of person or one age group. It's a real mix up.
Yeah, the area is just so diverse as it is.
This area is one of the most diverse areas in London anyway. Yeah, so
it's got so many different cultures. And
it's amazing to be honest. I really love it. That's why
you got the richest of the rich, you got the poorest of the poor, you've got like crazy people, you've got like.
We'll have guys walk in and go, "Oh, I'll take that, and that," and they'll drop $1,000 in 1 second without even thinking about it. And then you guys got people coming in going, "What's your cheapest filters? 50p? Oh, I don't want to buy that. I can get it for on Amazon." And I'll be like, "Well, go and buy it on Amazon then if you want it cheaper than that."
Yeah.
But
it's every walk of life.
A real mix up. Which
you get some proper characters as well on Portobello Road. You get some like really funny people.
It's got a nice little, just a bunch of like locals really. Like a lot of areas in London have been so gentrified that like the locals have kind of like even been moved out or they've left the area. But Westbourne Park, Ladbroke Grove, Notting Hill, Portobello Road is still full of locals, which is really nice, really nice. And we've been there. I mean, my family and my shop. I've been there 8 years before, and then Lee was there before me. But my family have had the shop for 35 years. They've been doing tattoos and piercing for 35 years. So we're like well embedded with the community, which is one of the major things I think, which keeps me kind of going.
Yeah.
It's an experience for sure.
That's for sure. If you're ever in London, you need to come and say hello. Definitely.
Yeah, man, 100%. I try and avoid it because I spend a lot of time on the trains. Now trains, it's basically 200 fucking quid to get to London from fucking Durham. So it's cheaper to drive, but then as soon as you get in there, it's 20 quid for this fucking charge. Then I've got to pay the ULEZ. Then I've got to pay for fucking parking. Then the da-da-da. So it's the logistics of it is, there's a lot of people I know in London. I do like to spend time there when I can, I say tolerate the stimulation, because it's just so overwhelming. Like the number of people and it's just such an acceleration of what I'm used to, kind of a pace of life. You know what I mean? But yeah, definitely will. I mean, we've got a couple of London questions here, actually. Sadiq Khan and his Cannabis Commission, your thoughts on that? Because obviously it was announced 3 weeks ago now, that he's basically all but given up on it.
Yeah, he's halted it, isn't he? He stopped it.
I just like, the thing is, like, I
don't trust the guy.
I thought he was going to do that anyway from the moment he announced that he was kind of like thinking about supporting it. Do you know what I mean? Like, it was all just a like, hey, everyone, like, look at me over here, I'm doing some stuff. And then actually, nah, that was boring. But thanks for looking.
It's a good little pointer. Like, look, I'm cool. I'm down with with people. I know what people need and want. It looks good on the outset, but isn't he just another like WEF puppet, isn't he?
Well, yeah, but also, like, if you really think about it, these guys want like there's more and more people like us basically who are shouting about what the hell's going on here, why is weed still illegal, blah blah blah, and like I feel like to take the pressure off, they all feel this need to like look into it.
Yeah. It's on our agenda. It's on our agenda.
Yeah.
Well, I said they've made an industry of it. I mean, there was an argument, I can't think who it was basically saying the capitalism is collapsing because of the consulting class. Because they've created this space that actually, if you have to pay these specialists to come and do this, and then that's got overinflated and you're just not going to afford to fucking do anything. And I think they want that cachet of getting the voters and whatever, of going, oh, this pile, look at it, they're going to do it. Oh, we're going to get it. But then they're actually pissing the money away and still flying around the world and going, oh, we're going to take these people to LA and we're going to go look at these farms or whatever. And then they come back and mothball it. So to me, my little conspiratorial brain can't help but go, what investors did you speak with? What other people that are part of that, again, that echelon of established power and wealth have you now just been corrupted by? Look at Jackie Smith. She's fucking now non-executive fucking director of... how the hell do you... I can't read that in my head. Dehegley? It's one of the newer cannabis producers in the UK. They're based in the Midlands. They're based near Stoke.
I don't know.
Dagley? I can't read it in my fucking... It's mangled up, whatever it is. This fucking... But she's now an advisor on that. Bear in mind, it was her that fucking moved cannabis from a C to a B under Gordon Brown. So there are these connections and these revolving doors
it's whatever suits at the time.
Yeah, whatever suits at the time, whatever's gonna
whatever's gonna get the results that they're wanting, they'll do.
Doesn't necessarily mean what they believe.
They don't care if they're helping people or killing people. They just do whatever suits their cause of money.
Well, I suppose most people at that level of government and even civil service and whatever else, they're still just puppets for established power and money.
That's the thing. These days,
it's that money that moves.
Government is below everything. Like corporations and like all these kind of big boys, like they're the ones running shit now. Because they're the ones that've got the money to lobby or consult or tell them what to vote for or what not to vote for or what laws to put in. Yeah, countries and like governments are on their way out, if you ask me. I mean, all they're gone already. Yeah. It's just a facade. It's just like a show, a theatre, isn't it? I mean,
we'll end up with like a 2008 financial crash, and Bezos will go, "I'm just going to buy North America." And then Zuckerberg will be like, no, that's not fair. I'm buying Australia. And then the other one will fucking jump up. Elon Musk will be like, yeah, well, I'm going to fucking buy South America. And we'll just end up with the continents being owned by trillionaires at that point, because they'll assume the debt and be able to do some jujitsu that means that they're suddenly worth the GDP of a fucking country. And it'll be a pissing contest. And then we'll all go to war over 5 fucking egos.
And then BlackRock will say, "Oh, I'm going to buy the whole fucking world." So,
well, yeah, they'll be secretly paying for all of it, running all their investments through Aladdin. Do you know their supercomputer?
I don't know.
Predictive. Google BlackRock and Blackstone Aladdin supercomputer. It manages I think it's 22 trillion in assets, and it's a predictive gaming computer. Imagine everyone else is playing the slot machine, and BlackRock have gone, we've got a machine inside the machine that tells us what's going to happen, so we can bet ahead of what's going to happen. And it's
madness, mate. Where are we heading with all this? Because this is like,
Well, I guess if you manage that much money, then you could have quite accurate data as to what was going to happen.
Not just you've got that much. Well, you'll arrive at a point where you've got that much money, you can make what you want happen and then predict it anyway. Do you know what I mean? They become interchangeable, and
I was listening to Russell Brand's podcast last night, and he's another one of these people that I don't really trust, because how has he been allowed to have his platform for so long without being? Obviously, it's been defunded and whatever now, or demonetized, but how was he able to have that platform for so long and say all the things that he was saying without having the backing of someone big up there? But his interview with Robert Epstein, I don't know if you've heard that one. It's very interesting, talking about Google and the influence and control that they have over governments and democracies, and like the influence that they've got over the world right now is scary. With they basically they're manipulating all of us, and whoever's whatever their ideology is going to get put into the fray. Yeah. We can't stop it at the moment, and there's no way of really stopping any of these huge corporations from doing what they're doing. There's no can't take them to court because they fucking run the court. Yeah. You can't. There's it's getting super scary. But if you can hack Russell Brand, go and check out that podcast. It's really interesting.
Okay. Yeah, I believe it's, to go back to sort of the shark analogy. They've eaten all the fish.
Yeah.
And now they're eating each other. And soon there's just going to be a couple of fucking sharks left. And eventually that shark will starve. But it's how many of us will be left to deal with the consequences, you know what I mean? And it's interesting. Somebody from IA came to me, the European Industrial Hemp Association, came to me at Product Earth and basically went, we fucked it. We're wrong. The pharmaceutical industry are going to eat us alive over the coming years. Go back underground. And I think that's the advice we need to take to heart, is make our own economies, create our own trade, do our own, we have whatever we have on the surface and operate within their economy, as they like to call it. But we have to create our own. We have to keep some resources. We have to build those online communities, in-person communities, and these alternatives, so that when the sharks stop dominating the waters, we remember how to swim.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
It's I saw something on online a while ago. I think maybe even you showed it to me or something. But it's the concept of what a bank actually is, for example, is actually really ridiculously simple. And anyone could set up a bank.
There's that film, The Bank of Dave?
But they could bank. You could bank with yourself, essentially, as well, with your bank. And it's the only person that banks with them.
Yeah.
But it means you're not paying any fees. You're not under any of these.
You can set up your own, but
you can set up investment. You can set up, and then you could do loans and not take stupid. Do you know what I mean? You could actually really do it.
If people wanted to do that, make it. But the convenience of having a bank on a corner means that people go to the bank on the corner.
If I remember correctly, the premise of the movie, which is based on a real story, the issue is around licensing. Yeah. So you can't operate on paper. You can do all those things in the same way. If I go, I'm in New York, on paper, I can open a dispensary and do all this. No, I haven't got the capital. I haven't bribed this person. I haven't done the license fees, £1 million here. They've got to pay 75% of this a year, 2% of that a year. All those restrictions and stipulations. I have the freedom to join that market, but I don't have the ability to participate because of the limitations that they've created on it. And that's exactly a wonderful analogy of what they're going to do. So the more we in this country go, yay, corporate legalization, that's what's going to happen. McDonald's and Starbucks are fucking cannabis. And then you're going to be like, well, why is it all mids? Why is it all this? Why can't I pay this? Why is the price this? And what are they going to do with all that tax money from that? The same thing they're doing in Oregon and other states, increasing the police presence on people that don't pay their fee to participate.
Yeah. So I guarantee it'll get more expensive over time. The same way all our kind of resources that we need is more expensive over time. As soon as the corporates are running it and it's not nationalized or whatever you want to call it, but the prices just go up. So in 20 years, we'll be paying £25 a gram for a bit of mids, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, I mean, that was my pitch to Jeremy Corbyn was the NHS should grow weed.
100%.
If cannabis is medical, then it has to fall in the remit of social healthcare in this country. And if then the burden of the NHS is going, well, we're having to buy all these Cali packs from America or whatever the fuck it is, there's an exaggeration, obviously. Grow our fucking own, actually create an industry and then go, oh, we've grown all this quality of cannabis that's so good for all these sick people. Oh, well, why can't we just sell that to everyone else then? We'll regulate it like tobacco and alcohol. And there's solutions to these problems, and that would stabilize and control it. I mean, a grower will know over time it gets cheaper. Yeah. Like as a hobbyist grower, is growing your own because you get better at understanding it, at tweaking it, of going, actually, maybe I don't need to run the extractor the whole time that this is on. I could turn this off for an hour. I could turn that and tweak that. You figure out ways to get more energy efficient. It's a human condition. Do you know what I mean? It's the nature of reality. You know, it's the reason a bubble is round, sort of thing. Whereas the capitalist thing is, no, we have to make more money every quarter. So where do we create the extra money from? Yeah, there'll be the inflation rate within the commercial market, but they'll have to go, well, we need to increase more because I want another yacht. And on paper, we need to be bigger than that company and bigger than that company. And it's just a pissing contest. Look at Canada. Their market is collapsing. I've got my notes from yesterday. 2 seconds. So what did I mention in last week's podcast? Fucking Canopy Growth has lost 98% of its evaluation. 98% in 5 years. Tilray is now diversifying its portfolio and growing fruit and veg in Quebec. It is also, through its investment, now one of the largest craft beer companies in the US. Aurora has also announced plans to grow orchids and other ornamental flowers as a way of diversifying. Like the promise of their shit, because the issue is it's not that they're not profitable or sustainable. They are, but not under their stakeholder capital, which means we need 3% returns on the stock market, which is just basically Las Vegas on fucking acid. That's the game. That's the whole thing. And so the whole world is fucked in every capacity because that's the only thing that they can see. But my numbers on my screen, my little ticker, my little thing, I need to make more. And they're like, oh, it's a good day. Cigars, lads, champagne, I made loads of money. It's like, yeah, but that company that you shorted means that 2,000 people in that country are now unemployed. They can't see beyond their victory, what they're celebrated for their success. If I make it, it's divine. It's a manifest destiny almost in a way. The whole concept of where we got ownership and taxation and why the white Europeans colonized and destroyed Turtle Island, not the North American sort of peninsula. Peninsula is the wrong word, region. Was this thing that there's nothing here already. Nothing's stopping me doing it. Therefore, I should do it. And it's that mentality. It becomes psychopathic over time that we're all down here going, yeah, but you're crushing us. And they're like, yeah, well, I don't see nothing. Did you know? Yeah.
Can't see from up here. Yeah, I mean, where does it lead us?
That's the problem.
That's the problem, isn't it?
It's like now more than ever, there is this divide that we were kind of saying before, like, not to, like when you're talking about sounding a bit like Margaret Thatcher defending capitalism, like in that same, like capitalism does work if it's like got all the levels to it. And some people are happy to live with not much money because that's not what fulfills them. And some people really want money. And the people who don't care about the money are happy for those people to have the money. And the people with the money are happy to have it themselves. Yeah. And it works. But right now, there's usually steps for all the different people to fit in all the different levels. But right now, all of those people in the middle have either had to somehow make it up to the top. And if not, it's been cut and everyone is now down here. Yeah. There's like just that few that made it there. And that's why there's so much frustration.
The imbalance is just gross, isn't it?
Because like there's some people that are fine here, but there's a growing number of people that have ended up here that are not fine here.
Well, I think that's where
we're going to have a problem.
Yeah, it's neoliberal capitalism versus classic, it's like Coke and New Coke, like fucking neoliberal capitalism and classic liberal capitalism. Which, for all, again, not to, as I say this every fucking time I bring this up, not to excuse any of the sins of history, park that for a minute, let's just talk economics. The principle of the thing was, a thing arises, people go, oh, they compete to it, best one rises, doof. Yeah, there was competition of, fuckery amongst the competition and people screwing each other. I'm thinking, Tesla and Edison, etc. It was generally the discovery was to get the best product and to market it to mass market. And then, as you say, it was the spectrum of people. They brought people up after the Second World War of the emergence of the new middle class and everything else. And the concept of that was that there would always be growth at the front, which would drive it. Now there isn't growth at the front under neoliberal capitalism when everything's deregulated. They've created a blood sport of it, of going, it's not about the prosperity of the future. It's about what we can get from what's behind to give us our future. And it's a snake eating its own fucking tail. There's no authentic growth anymore. You see it all the time. And capitalism breeds innovation memes. And it's like 50 types of bottles of water or 50 fucking pickup trucks from different companies that are all the same. It's become a dead end ideology. It's become... it's like I said, and because of the mechanisms, now we need inflation. We need to print more money. The UK printed 800 billion fucking pounds during COVID, and they're saying inflation is now because bus drivers want to fucking raise so they can feed their kids.
They want to up the wages.
It's sickening, but that's the mechanisms they've created. Because again, they're not trying to create new growth; they're trying to cannibalize this fucking bit back here. And so it used to be, the people going, "I'm happy down here," but now they can't sit down there because they need 10% annual turn in a year to just be where they were. Yeah. That means they've got to have gone and made that fucking 10% to just not have lost where they are. The system it's not broken. It's operating to such efficiency because it was always designed for just that slither. So now all it's producing is value for the slither, but eventually the gears will break down because we are the fucking lubricant that allows the machine to eat up the fucking...
It's going to implode at some stage. I mean, it's the same with the money system. Like, whether in industry or money, it's all the same sort of thing. It's all an inbuilt imbalance, essentially, which will get to a point where it's can't carry on because, I mean, like the money was going to implode, isn't it? With the debt and incurred on every pound and the fractional reserve banking system that they
plus
use.
Inflation.
Plus the inflation, plus... I'm just hoping more than anything that people just say fuck them and don't go to work anymore. I mean, then really just like stuff the system for a few weeks. I mean, that would really like change things up.
We're getting close, I'd say, to a general strike. If you look at the unions and everything else, and if we go into a shit fucking winter right now and the energy companies price gouges again and the food companies price gouges again, when there've been minimum raises to the various organizations and they're no better off come next year, I guarantee you they'll be back on the fucking streets again. As you say, the inequity is insane to me. Like I can leave my little spot. Durham is the third most impoverished region in Northern Europe, quantifiably, economically. Wow. I can walk down into the city and see Ferraris and Lambos and shit drive through. I can drive 5 minutes that way, cross the railway line that isn't there anymore. A wonderful, tragically poetic analogy of the death of our industry. And just the other side of that is 10-bedroom mansions, multi-million-pound fucking homes on the back of a 5-star golf course. Cross back over that railway line and you're in £50,000 fucking former council houses that are damp and killing people, that are falling down. It's repulsive, it's repugnant, it's offensive.
It's crazy. Yeah, no, it's horrible. I mean, the imbalance is just mad. It's mad. I mean, even around here, like completely just different kind of like environment, but Notting Hill, one of the richest areas in London, and it is fucking rich. Like there's a lot of money here. Yeah. But then you've got people sleeping in doorways still. Yeah. And you're like, what the hell is going on here? Like, what it doesn't make sense at all.
This area is the most is so crazy.
I mean, all around London, you've got like areas with like billionaires, mansions, and then two streets away, it's a council estate. And
where people are struggling.
People are super struggling and they're getting like squeezed for every little last penny that they've got. And yeah, it's just like, what is going on? Like, can't even like describe it anymore. And I'm like, the way you're describing where you live and the area you're surrounded by, it just doesn't make sense. Like, it doesn't add up, does it? When you look around, I mean, everyone's through COVID. There's no money. The country's going to shit. Yeah. But actually, when I look around, there's a million cranes building new fucking skyscrapers everywhere.
But yeah, they're building flats for people to never occupy. They're building assets. This is what I'm saying about like the cannibalizing of the resource. It used to be make a new resource, and it used to be you'd go, we're going to build this so people will live in there, and the rents over this time will mean that we got this annual income of 4% yield, 10% yield, whatever it is. That's not what they care for anymore. They're building this because their mates need them in Russia. Their mates need them in fucking wherever the fuck else it is in the Middle East. And it's laundering the money of the ill-gotten gains from the foreign policy of our fucking government, you know?
Literally, like, this area is full of empty houses and massive mansion houses. And they're all empty because they're just investments. They're just literally, someone just bought it to sit there and generate some more wealth. And I don't know, it doesn't make sense at all to me. Well, it does make sense because they've got the plan and they're enacting their plan, so they're making their money. But as a person walking around, growing up in the city, growing up in this area, just like, not come from riches, not come from the street, just like kind of middle class kind of vibe. But the actual area has changed so much. Like, it's very kind of, the disparity between the two is quite weird. It's quite weird.
It's the performative. Like the perspectives of people's have changed, and it's become quite performative. So I remember during the 90s and whatever else, it was quite uncouth to be sort of Tory or tough, you know what I mean, to be associated to wealth. And do you know what I mean? It was very much a wolf a thing. And then there was this there's been this transformation of the expression of that affluence. It's almost like Victorian in the sense of like the large bellies that we look how large I am because of the amount I can fucking eat.
How much I can afford.
You know what I mean? It feels like it's that shameless kind of look. I'm wearing a chain that's this. My tooth's worth this. This car's worth this, and it's just posturing. It's performative, and like I said, it's a pissing contest amongst a certain level of class, and all we are is performers on their stage. We've become background actors, and fucking our lives, we are literally like the Truman Show, and they are the Trumans that come in, and then what they've done is got us to all go, you can be Trumans too. All you've got to do is sing and dance for us and do this and earn your fucking thing, and then eventually get enough numbers, and all right, we'll give you these products and this, and get up this ladder and do this, and then we'll send you to these parties, and it's all manufactured. But at every level, we're fed these neurological hormonal rewards of going, I'm a good person. Look at that. People are like, oh, thank you. That was a compliment. Oh, a free gift. I get my complimentary travel. Oh, all of those things mean you're right. You're good. Why would these things not be happening to me unless what is happening is good? That's what they've made. Money equals right. It used to be power, like, you know what I mean? And we can't question that anymore because in order to even get on that level, you have to have run through their obstacle course to attain their wealth, which means your worldview is narrowed to theirs and you agree with them.
Weird, isn't it? I don't know.
I mean, like, we've kind of gone quite far away from cannabis.
As we do every week on this podcast. I love how people think of a cannabis podcast. I just smoke cannabis on this podcast.
But yeah, there's like definitely a lot of doom and gloom at the moment around the world and in our country. But I mean, as we said earlier, we've got to be thankful.
Let's finish on a positive somehow.
Let's be thankful anyway, being in the positions that we are, even though it's a lot of work. Like, to do what we do every day takes a lot of work. But I'm like thankful to have work. I'm thankful to have a roof over my head and stuff. You know what I mean? Like, right. I'm thankful to be able to have cannabis. Like,
we touched on it earlier. Like, being able to sit here on a Thursday afternoon and have this lovely chat is a privilege. It's a super privilege. Being able to run a business for ourselves is a privilege. I haven't got a big boss telling me what to do. He does, but
I do.
No, I'm not that big, and I'm not a bad boss.
I'm bigger than him anyway. But
it's a privilege and something that we all got to think about and be grateful for what we've got. You know what I mean? 100%. Yeah.
No, I think it's a great place to end this on. I'll just ask you the final cliched question that closes the podcast. What does the future hold for you guys?
Future holds for me. The future's changed somewhat because I just had a kid. So I had a kid 10 months ago, and my future's definitely changed a little bit. I didn't have it. It wasn't really a plan, but yeah, it's happened. And my future is to kind of get the space that we've created on Portobello Road to a place where I necessarily don't have to be there as much, because I kind of want to get out of this country in the future. I want to be out of the UK. I want to be somewhere sunnier. that's the kind of future for my personal life. The shop, 100% I wanted to carry on. I wanted to succeed as much as possible. We are trying to create like a bit of a brand. We're trying to, we do sell other people's products, but we're trying to create a bit more of a brand, and we have the kind of dream of maybe having another space in London. But we've had a few other ideas. I don't know. We've got like a few other products that we want to focus on,
and like maybe getting back into Europe and stuff
trying to get back into Europe,
which would be really cool. Because with everything changing there, it's more likely we could have a bit more fun. But yeah, like definitely keep the shop pushing what we're doing. Keep fighting the fight that we're fighting, basically.
Just push it as far as we can go with it, because I'm not ready to give up. I do go through moments when I'm like, gas this out. I'm done with this. It's boring now because it's the same shit every year. Yeah. But I'm still a smoker. I still consume it. I still love it. And the shop is my life. It's my lifestyle. It's my livelihood. So I'm definitely not about to give it up. And yes, it's definitely it's worth keeping going. We need to be like a little beacon in the middle of London, still doing our thing, because you're not going to get any shops like this anymore.
Yeah, we're like one of the last. We're like, and especially in London, we're one of the last like places you could go and speak about glassware, or you could go and find a rolling paper that you use that you can't find elsewhere, or like where you could come ask questions if you were just unsure about anything at all, really, to do with cannabis. Like
and just watching his cat going across the keyboard, probably going across the computer. But yeah, no, it's definitely we're sticking with it, and yeah,
just keep pushing it, man. We've got quite a lot of really exciting stuff going on at the moment. We're really trying to push our products out onto like a bigger scale. Like it's a big push for us at the moment, for sure. So we can like just more ways to get the word out there without Instagram, basically.
Exactly. And yeah, I think that's about it, really. That's the kind of trajectory at the moment. But I think your mic is on mute.
The cat muted me when he walked across my keyboard. The joys. I wish you both the best, personally and professionally, within the space and outside of it, obviously. I hope that the war that is going on between the Home Office, the FSA, and various of the vested interest is resolved to a degree that allows you to expand and actually be more honest and open and show what you've clearly shown to me, as I stated before, which is an authentic passion towards this. And so I hope that maybe if it's the sun dragging you away, but I hope that we can change the reality here that you'd want to stay and go away for your holidays to get your sun. But I believe that the UK has potential. You know, I mean, I've had offers to leave over the years, and there's been various projects and things, and I can't help but feel this resource and this fight, if done right, it sets us free and sets us onto a trajectory of growth and development that we can't even begin to fathom, you know?
We're not going to ever end it in London. It's just more like if he did move.
If I did move, it would be more to expand as well into Europe with Otherside and to continue out in that space. But no, I agree with what you're saying. Like if England does become free and legalized, it's got legs.
It's a great place to be.
I mean, there's things happen in this country that don't happen anywhere else. Like the opportunities it provides, and yeah, just the open dialogue about it that you can't have in other countries is so important. And yeah, I wouldn't give up on the cannabis aspect of my life, but I do sometimes feel like I need a bit more sunshine.
Yeah, I can definitely understand that, being a northerner.
I can imagine you don't get as much as you, but yeah, man.
Yeah. Okay, there's the cliche talking about the weather, so that's the perfect time to end this. Guys, I'll thank you for your time, for your honesty, and for getting to know you guys a bit better. Definitely will call in to the shop next time I'm passing through. And where can people keep up with you? I know obviously social media is trying to be a dick to you, but where can people keep up with what you're trying to do?
Otherside London is our profile on Instagram. Othersidelondon.com is the website. We're based on Portobello Road in London, so if you're in London at all, come and see us. We've got a YouTube channel. We've also got our own sort of mini podcast. It's not as big as yours, not as good as yours either. But yeah, if anybody wants to check that out, it's Otherside. You can type Otherside London on YouTube or Otherside Cannabis Dispensary.
Yeah.
What else you gonna say?
I was gonna say we also do DJ sets in the shop most weeks, and we record the sets and we stick them on our SoundCloud. It's nearly every Friday. We have a music page, Otherside Music Dispensary.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's just like all good places to get in touch with us as well.
Sweet. I've made a note of that. They will all be in the links below, folks. Check out the other side. Thank you once again, Leon and Geshe. I will let you guys get off and I'll do a bit of housekeeping.
Nice one.
Cheers.
Right,
Cheers.
It's been a pleasure. Peace and love, guys.
Bye-bye.
Take it easy. Well, there you go, folks. That was Leon Bird and Geshe Ewing from Otherside Dispensary. Completely forgot where they were for a second there. Yeah, I really enjoyed that conversation. I think I'm gonna actually try and keep that tweak thing we did at the start, do a little teaser, then jump into the intro. Bless them, I didn't tell them that we weren't recording, so we ended up chatting for about half an hour, because I usually like to do a little bit of a preamble, and ended up we rehashed most of the points that we discussed prior to it. But yeah, I like that little construct. I think I'm going to try that out in future podcasts. Whether I'll actually get around to producing a bingo card, time will tell. Well, I'll add it to my many lists on my to-do list, many jobs on my to-do list, rather. Yeah, check them out in all the links below. Check out their podcast and SoundCloud, as they said, with the DJ sets that they do in-house. It'd be interesting to see kind of how they evolve and work around the limitations, the ever increasing roadblocks that are being put up by the FSA, the Home Office, the British government in general, the industry, the medical sector. It's all becoming very difficult for people like Leon and Geshe to actually operate within the space authentically with transparency and to build, respectability amongst their customers and to provide a quality service. It's a shame that the system is the way that it is, but by people doing what exactly they're doing, it is a form of activism, it is a form of protest, it is a form of moving the conversation forward. So I do wish them all the best within that. One other thing I made a quick note of just before I started recording, I saw that one of our former guests, Dana Larson, has been arrested in Canada with relation to the mushroom cafes that he was, or mushroom dispensaries, I think the word that he was doing. I don't really have much information on it right now. Hopefully in the next episode we'll have a bit of an update and I'll include some information as to what has happened and some links. Otherwise, obviously, you can check it out through various search engines and whatever. I do wish him all the best and hope that everything's going all right there. I think we were due a catch up with him anyway. I think this is good emphasis to do so, so I will reach out. All right, folks, thank you for, listening, watching, participating. As always, greatly appreciated. If you really enjoyed this, please do like, share, subscribe, give us a rating, whatever it is on whatever platform it is that you're listening to that shows appreciation and gratitude. I am much grateful and appreciative of your support. And yeah, if you really enjoyed this, check us out on patreon.com// the Simpa Life, where for less than a cup of coffee you can help me keep the lights on this little project of mine. Check us out on all social media platforms. I am starting to post a little bit more on Instagram on just the Simpa Life, not the podcast page. But yeah, as we discussed in this episode, the limitations, the restrictions are very frustrating. So it is quite disheartening. So any interaction, greatly appreciated as I'm trying to sort of rebuild. I've also come to the conclusion, I'll announce now, that I'll be doing live streams again from next year. I'm just trying to figure out platforms and their limitations and what I can get away with, because I don't want to have to limit, I never would limit my language, but I don't want to have to limit, showing product or discussing openly, it's where it's come from, what it is. I want to be able to really talk to you properly about these things, or, well, frankly, not at all. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, we'll see where that goes. Yeah. See you next week, folks. We have somebody. That'd be awesome. You'll enjoy it. All right. Peace and love.